Welcome to Cal Club SCCA Racing, presented by Porterfield Racing Brakes. I'm Brian Polanski. Tristan Parker here with us. We've got 5 afternoon races here getting ready to go. Our first race of the day should be a good one, Wings and Things. Tristan, why don't you help us out here with our starting lineup?
Sure thing. Here is your Group 2 starting order this weekend, brought to you by raceschool.com. Starting in 20th, number 123, Andy Chan. Alongside him, number 135, Johnny Green. In 18th, number 36, Chris Emmanuel. In 17th, number 41, Dimitri Nolan. In 16th, number 74, Steve Martin. In 15th, number 63, Lars Jensen. In 14th, number 75, CJ Ray. In 13th, number 28, Stu Tabak. In 12th, number 78, Brad Drew. Alongside him, number 4, Valentino Gabarino. In 10th, number 73, Gokul Manan. In 9th, number 67, William Weaver. In 8th, number 83, Cameron Parsons. In 7th, number 29, Christian Ockpish. In 6th, number 18, Tom Hope. In 5th, number 8, Timothy Carroll. In 4th, number 137, Jay Horek. In 3rd, number 73, Landon Matriano. In 2nd, number 131, Barrett Wolf. And then your pole position and current race leader, number 77, James Lawley.
And that is your starting order, brought to you by raceschool.com. I want to thank them for being on board this year. Our latest and newest sponsor here for the Cal Club races out here. If you'd like to sponsor us, you can do it too. Just get a hold of us. There's lots of ways. Racing. I'll get the. Hold on a second. There you go. I hit the wrong button again. There you go. Racing Wire Network at gmail.com. That's your go if you would like to help us out here. All right, let's get to our action. It's going to be a ton of fun. Lights are out on the pace car, so we are moments away from getting this thing underway here, and it is going to be a beautiful afternoon of racing here. Temperatures are a little chilly. I've got to pull it up to find out what they are. I would say we're probably right around 50 degrees right now, maybe 55 degrees. Not a ton of wind today, which is nice, and we're getting ready to get this thing underway. We had 5 races yesterday.
Yes.
And had a couple of incidents in this race, which kind of kept the racing to not quite as much green flag action.
We did, yes.
We're hoping, though, that that will not be the case today. And we will find out what we know when we know it. So,
yeah, we hopefully it will be a little bit cleaner than it was yesterday. I mean, we did have, I think, some significant delays here. Some of these cars did not complete the race, which I think was a little frustrating. We had a lot of tows. It may not have been our most sort of hectic race. I think that went to our last race of the day, which was the SPEC Corvette group. But it was certainly a wild one, so hopefully everybody's had an opportunity to clean up a little bit out there today, and we'll be a little bit sharper. Looks like the pace car will be coming off the track, so we'll be looking over to the starter stand to see if we can get our cars ready to go. And sure enough, out comes the green flag, and our first race of the day here at Buttonwillow underway with James Lawley leading the way across. Now, this is getting split up into 3 groups here. We're going to have our Formula 3 cars pretty much taking the lead. The Formula X cars will be following up, and then I believe sort of the mishmash of Formula 4s and FE2 prototype cars, they're going to form their own sort of third group there at the end. So those standings that we read to you, or that order that we read to you, not necessarily going to hold bearing for the entire race. And sure enough, there we see that little bit of division there in the groups that are coming across the line. So you might see, just some different cars laid out essentially than you would necessarily expect, but already taking that turn very tight there, Brian. That was one that we saw a lot of drivers struggling with yesterday to quite hit this the right way.
It's funny, when I went out to put the cameras out earlier during lunch, the sweeper truck was there cleaning off the track, and this was a section where he went over multiple times to try to get the dust off the track. And here we go, first race, and they're already making a mess of things. So here is our second group here in the split start coming through for the first time.
I'd expect no less than to make a mess on that particular corner. Like I said, yesterday it was a challenge. It was a challenge for a lot of our drivers, but we'll see if they can handle it a little bit better today. Just as a general note, we're running the counterclockwise, 25 configuration here this weekend, I believe.
That is correct.
Which in truth is one of, I think, more of the favored forms of this track. There are like 29, I think, or something
Right.
ridiculous number of combinations. A lot of them we wouldn't use for this type of racing, but of the ones that we would use, I think the number 25 counterclockwise is one that people tend to like, especially coming down the straightaway. You can go into what we call sort of the sunrise turn, which is a wide left-hander, versus if you were going the other direction, you come down into sunset, which is a much tighter, I guess it would be a right-hander in that context. So drivers like it. That often becomes a passing corner. We might, see a lot of action down there as well.
Yeah, James Lawley comes across the line first here after one racing lap with a lap of 1:44.183, followed by Barrett Wolf, Jay Horak, Timothy Carell, and Tom Hope. That's your top five. Johnny Crean is in sixth, followed by Chris Emanuel, Dimitri Nolan, Cameron Parsons, and Tom Van Wee.
Yeah, it's a very diverse group as well, and we mentioned this yesterday. We got a lot of out of regioners here in this one, let's say. A lot of outer staters, actually. I know James Lawley, who is in that race leader. He's in a 2020 Leger. His hometown is actually Halifax, Nova Scotia. I don't know that he lives there anymore, but he is a member of the San Francisco region, if I remember correctly. You've got a Las Vegas driver in here as well, a Red River, Louisiana, which was one I think that we were most surprised by. Not a lot of drivers coming from Louisiana. That's Landon Matriano, who we'll probably be talking about a fair bit based on his performance yesterday. We've also got an Arizona driver out there. That's Jay Horak. A couple more, a good number actually, of Bay Area natives. In fact, it's funny to say it, but the SCCA, which is our local region, might actually be the one of the smaller ones in this group. We even have one driver, I believe it's Dimitri Nolan. He's in a 2022 Leger. He actually came all the way from Fairview, Texas for this. So a couple of drivers turning out here for what promises to be the last day of racing on the classic Buttonwillow track until October of next year.
Yep, we got a brand new track here at Buttonwillow. It's called the Circuit, and it will be getting started here and running here coming in January. So just like anything, when you've got something brandy new, you want to spend some time on it. So a lot of our racing next year will be on the circuit, and with a couple of races at the end of the year back here on the classic track. And then I suspect once the we knock the shine off the new facility, we'll go back to more of a back and forth and more equitable distribution of racing between the two tracks. So.
Yeah, a lot of drivers excited about that. A lot of people out here in general, I think, excited about that opportunity. But of course, I got to finish up this last day of Buttonwillow here first, or a Buttonwillow Classic, I should say, here first. So still, still plenty to watch and keep track of. James Lawley, by the way, just sort of setting his paces coming around. Not a lot of very close matchups here. I think the closest we have is Johnny Crean is slightly behind number 18 of Tom Hope. But again, both of them are running in their car groups as either the only car or, one of maybe two cars, I think, for the prototype. No, they're the only cars in their group. So really, they're just racing for pride. The actual standings from the perspective of Cal Club, not affected by whatever the outcome of their race is. The biggest group we have here today in this race specifically, as James Lawley comes across the line here and sets an even faster time up to a 140.5. The biggest class we have in this race is the FX, the Formula X cars, of which the current leader, I believe, is Timothy Carroll, who we just saw come across the line at a 144, and he is quite far ahead of Cameron Parsons, who's sitting at a whole almost, I think, 7 seconds behind in terms of time.
It's, of course, a 30-minute timed race here, and we had to cut the times a little short yesterday just because we had some big cleanups early in the day. But as long as that happens, and, of course, I forgot to start the clock here, so I will work to get that up and running here in just a few minutes. But yep, that is the situation here. at this moment.
Starting a little earlier today too, so we won't quite be pushing it as late as we did yesterday. Yesterday we were right up to the edge of darkness here at Buttonwillow, our last group of the day, group 6. They were going through and it was genuinely getting dark out on the track. Not going to happen here today. All these races, I think our last one is set to kick off at 2:55, so we should be able to wrap everything up before it starts to get too dark. Everybody's got to get home after all, from Buttonwillow here, for better or for worse. But just keeping an eye out there on the track, keeping a weather look to see if anybody's in kind of a tight race. And in truth, nobody really is. I mean, everybody's kind of just doing their thing right now. You go a little bit deeper down in the lineup, and Gokul Mandan, I think, is sort of creeping up on Brad Drew. Some shuffling happening essentially in the Formula X cars, not necessarily for first or second place. Timothy Carroll and Cameron Parsons seem to have that relatively under control. I say that though, and Timothy Carroll does get passed by Johnny Crean. He crept up on Tom Hope, and then he came past Timothy Carroll as well. Johnny Crean in that P1 car, so a prototype. He is theoretically, and we were talking about this yesterday as well, Johnny is theoretically the fastest car on the track here today. Usually this category, group 2, Brian, you like to call them the wings and things or what have it. Yep. They genuinely tend to be the fastest cars we have out there all day. So we're getting a bit of a treat to see them go off this early.
Yeah, and this is the final round of the Pacific Formula 2000 race series here. And that's where a lot of these drivers who we see out here are coming to race in that particular series. It is a local series here across the West Coast with races here up at Thunderhill, Laguna Seca, and Sonoma. This is the final round of the year for that group. So there's some championships on the line here that are going to be decided today going into this weekend. For that group, Troy Shooter was the race leader, or the championship points leader, followed by Gary Peterson and, let me make this bigger so this old guy can read it. Gary Peterson, Dutch Schultz, and Daniel Swanback. Peterson and Schultz are not here this weekend, so it's Troy Shooter and Daniel Swanback trying to keep ahead in that group there. So.
Yeah, it's we said those names a lot yesterday. There was a lot of energy in this race group. I mean, we mentioned them being a little kind of all over the place yesterday, and they've been a lot cleaner here so far today. But yeah, we might be hearing some of those names coming in again. Worth pointing out, we were talking about out-of-towners. Johnny Crean, his hometown is Kamuela, Hawaii.
Nice.
Kamuela. I'm not sure how you would pronounce that, but he is their registered SCCA member. So we know he doesn't live in Hawaii, but I always think that's fun that that's listed as his hometown. So right. Worth sharing for sure. But yeah, it's been a very stable race, honestly, so far from these drivers, which is exactly what you want to see to start the day off. Definitely don't want to be wasting another, 15-20 minutes cleaning up oil slicks or what have you. That was a bit of a mess.
Had a nice conversation last night at dinner with Cameron Parsons. He is currently your second place car in Formula X. He's raced all over. He's done a lot of Trans Am racing in the TA2 class, especially here in the West Coast Trans Am series. And is also a fellow commentator. So we had a nice conversation about that. And maybe we'll get him to come up and join us for a little bit one of these times, one of these weekends. But really nice guy, one of those guys who works to go racing, and is talking about he's got a new child at home and how that plays into things these days. So
yeah.
A lot of stories like that out here where people take their spare income and put the pennies together to get out here and go racing.
For sure, yeah. No, it'll be always interesting to hear from some different perspectives and from some of the racers themselves. It's something that we wish we could do more of, but, somewhat limited, I think, in our ability to get out there. Maybe one day. But for now, yeah, would love to hear from him. Would love to hear from pretty much anybody, honestly, who's interested in kind of coming up here or does commentary work. If you're interested in being part of the SCCA in general, you can always check us out on WSCCA.com. You could also go to I believe, Cow Club website, and that will direct you specifically to where we are. And there's your What do they call that? What did you call it yesterday? You had a term for that specifically.
The lower third.
The lower third. Sure, we call it the lower third. Yeah. The lower third. I thought there was a fancier terminology, but yes, the lower third right there. You can see calclub.com, SCCA.com. Might as well take a look there if you're interested in coming out. Always happy to have more volunteers here at Buttonwillow, that's for sure.
All right, here's your top 5 right now, and I still haven't gotten the ticker up, but it looks like, let me pull up the timing here so I can see where we
About 11 minutes in.
About 11 minutes into this race, you've got
We'll trust other sources.
James Lawley, Barrett Wolf, Johnny Crean, Jay Horek, and Timothy Carell. That's your top 5. 6 through 10, Tom Hope, Chris Emmanuel, Dimitri Logan, Cameron Parsons, and Christian Akpish. Not sure if that's right, but I'm going with it.
That's the pronunciation that I've been using. I don't know if it's right either, but it sounds right in my head. I know that is not often the case. I mean, obviously, I work in a world where we usually commentate. We don't say people's real names, so it's always fun to try and figure out even more convoluted gamer tags or what have you. But yeah, I feel bad that we're not really honing in on racing that's happening here, but in truth, everybody, at least at the top of this, is pretty set in the way that they're going. Dig a little deeper, you'll see Lars Jensen is kind of chasing after Stuart Tabak, but that's way back down in the mix where the Formula 4s and the Formula Xs. Ethan Sterling, he's in that race as well, Valentin Gabarino. But as far as race leaders, everything's pretty firmed up. On the screen that you're looking at there, on the pillar that you're looking at, the closest you're going to see to actual, maybe I would say like close racing, is Cameron Parsons being chased by Christian Akpish and Tom Van Wee in that mix as well. So they're relatively close to one another, less than a second between each of them. But I will say, just as a general note, I mean, looking at the way things are playing out on the track, Brian, everybody's kind of just did sort of what we saw from our Spec Racer Fords yesterday. They kind of just hit their rhythm and have their little section of the track that they're racing on. There's nobody's like right up against anyone or what have you. Maybe we'll see it as time goes by. You might see some things closing. Could also be, now that I think about it, based on just yesterday and how hectic this group was, people might be playing just a little bit more cautious today. Last thing you want to do going into the holiday break is to have your car have, some sort of big issue that you have to deal with. I don't think that's not the Christmas present you want for yourself.
If you take a look at the ticker across the bottom of our screen, we'll have all of yesterday's race winners there, as well as the schedule for the rest of today. 5 races coming at us this afternoon, and we're in the middle of the first of those 5. And I think there's one worker break in the middle at some point, and we will be able to wrap this up. Yesterday we were chasing darkness. Today that shouldn't be an issue. If it is, we've had some really rough problems.
Yeah,
today.
no, we got bigger things to worry about. Johnny Crean, by the way, he's all the way up to 3rd place now. I think we should give him his plaudits just a little bit here. Got around Timothy Carroll, got around Jay Horak. Now he's chasing at the heels of Barrett Wolf, so about 0.571 seconds behind Barrett Wolf. So what we would expect to see from the prototype car. He's really, he's just fast, and it's as simple as that. He's got the fastest lap of this group at a 139.520, which honestly is very fast. That's definitely probably, I would say, the fastest time we're going to see here all day for sure. So Johnny Crean knows what he's doing, and I mean, when you put it in the context of covering a distance of 2.9 miles in about a minute 40, that is genuinely crazy.
All right, we are at the halfway point in this race, so I think it would be a good time at this moment to do our mid-race recap.
All right, let's do our mid-race recap here. Brought to you, of course, by raceschool.com. Starting at the top, your current race leader and the leader for the Formula 3s, that's number 77, James Lawley, followed by number 131, Barrett Wolf. In 3rd place, number 135, Johnny Crean, the current leader in the P1 category. In 4th, number 137, Jay Horak. In 5th, number 8, Timothy Carroll, the leader in the FX category. In 6th, number 18, Tom Hope, leader in the FE2 class. In 7th, number 36, Chris Emmanuel, leader in the FA class. And then in 8th, number 41, Dimitri Nolan, leader in the F4 class. In 9th, number 29, Christian Ockpish. In 10th, number 83, Cameron Parsons, followed by Tom Van Wee, William Weaver, CJ Ray, Brad Drew, Steve Tabak, Valentino Gabarino. 8th and starting, Lars Jensen, Gokul Mandan, Taylor Carmona, Robert Krajewski, and Andy Chan. And unfortunately, number 74, Steve Martin, who was out here yesterday and had to be towed off the track, he started this race, but he will not be able to finish it. He left at lap 4, so he's off the course.
All right, that is your full field live. If I put my microphone in front of my mouth, it'll sound better. That is your full field rundown here, brought to you by raceschool.com. Oops. All right, 13 minutes left to go in this race, and well, we're already off to a better start than we were yesterday, so no issues so far. These guys are doing a nice job of keeping it between the white lines here. Coming up next, we have the Formula Continental Group, and they got they're one of our featured classes this weekend. They've got their own race, so that should be fun watching those guys get after it here. That's all coming up right after this race, so keep watching for that.
Well, a little bit of a pass back here. Timothy Carroll and Jay Horak went past Johnny Crean. It's possible Johnny Crean might have actually gone off the track and come back on. I'm beginning to see Johnny Crean slip down the standings past Tom Hope as well. So he ends up in 6th place, so he drops from 3rd to 6th in the course of a lap. The only thing that I can assume when you put up a 2:10 lap time and your best lap time has been 1:39 is that something happened out there. Probably you going off and on slows you down and gets back in and just takes away from your pacing.
Yeah, definitely some sort of an issue there. Not exactly sure what that is, and I haven't heard anything over the radio net that would tell me that. So, or he could just have a mechanical issue and he's slowing down a little bit too. So, but in theory, the P1 cars should be the fastest cars out here in this race group. But in this particular case, the Formula 3 cars are really showing what they've got here with Lawley, Wolf, and Horak still battling out up front. But the battle is pretty spread out for those 3 cars. 12 seconds between 1st and 2nd, and another 11 seconds back to 3rd. So, as you had said earlier, Tristan, not a lot of battles going on the racetrack at this moment. So we gab away and fill up the space.
Yeah, not a lot of battles. Just Johnny Crean might try and take back some of his positions that he lost, but again, it's sort of a moot point as far as Johnny Crean is concerned, because really, like, he is racing alone, for lack of a better term. Just keeping an eye on him, though, to see if he does drop any lower in the standings, because if he does, then I feel like there has to be something wrong with the car. And instead, no, he'll climb up over Tom Hope and put himself in 5th place overall. So nothing wrong with the vehicle now. He is in full flight.
Yeah.
Well, we're just keeping an eye out here, seeing if there's anything that we should throw at you guys directly as you're listening in. But no, everybody seems to be doing what they're supposed to do out there.
Yep. Coming up on the one third of the race left mark. 10 minutes left in this race.
Yes, not a ton of time left here as we get ready for our next group to come on. I believe that's going to be Group 3, which is the Formula Continental cards. So that should be entertaining to watch, to say the least. Other than that, though, things just sort of continuing apace here at the moment on the course. Not a lot of drama to report to you. Everybody being very good at what they do, and you appreciate that. I mean, you do appreciate it. Makes maybe for a little bit slower commentary, Brian, but from a race perspective, it's better.
I always laugh because there's always at least one of these races a weekend where everybody's got like a 10-second gap between the two of them. Nobody's doing anything crazy.
Yeah.
And then you and I get to sit here and think about life, contemplate our life choices.
There's often one or two, I think, that tend to go that way, right? And I do think, honestly, being last Sunday before where, we take a month off, basically 2 months off,
yeah.
I do think that is a contributing factor as well. Nobody's going hell for leather in this particular race today, and I can't necessarily blame them. Go out, do your Sunday drive, have a nice time, go home.
Yeah.
Keep your tires intact, keep your car intact.
That's right.
For looking ahead to the next year.
Your top five: James Lawley, Barrett Wolf, Jay Horak, Timothy Carell, and Johnny Crean. Then you've got Tom Hope, Chris Emanuel, Dimitri Nolan, Christopher Ockpish, and Tom Van Wee. And then you've got Cameron Parsons there in 11th. So the top three, all Formula 3 cars. And you've got the FX car of Carell, followed by the P1 car. We got an FE2 car, a Formula Atlantic car, a little mishmash of Formula cars here. We put them all in the pool and see what comes out at the end. So, but that is the part of this mixed class racing. It also kind of makes it hard to figure out where we are on the racetrack sometimes as well. So here they come up. This is hard to see it from here, but this is a big. In Buttonwillow standards, a big uphill climb to Phil Hill here. This is the only real elevation change here at Buttonwillow. So it's an uphill right-hander once they get to the top of the hill, and then they shoot down the hill right back towards the drag strip area, and then head off to the far side of the moon. I mean, the far side of our racetrack here, and before they come back into our view here on the front straight. This section here of the racetrack that you're looking at is called I-5. Well, the corners you're looking at are cotton corners. And then the little straightaway leading up to them, that's I-5. In the background there, you can see Interstate 5, so you can figure out where the name of that part of the racetrack comes from. And then they're coming up, and when they get to the top of the hill, that is called the Grapevine. So when they exit our camera, they get into the Grapevine, which is a hard downhill. This is a little bit of an elevation change too here, by the way. So there's little two spots of elevation here, and this is the second one, or the first of the two, I guess, in this direction.
Right, and a hard hill to tackle as well. Having just ridden in a pace car around the track, that hill in particular, the elevation combined with the sharp turn is that's enough to give you a little bit of pause.
Yep. Johnny Crean just went purple, by the way, dropping a 139.193.
I'm glad you caught that. I was just going to mention that. Yeah, he's added a little bit on to his overall top speed, or his fastest speed so far here today. So well ensconced there. I mean, it's a little unfortunate that he can't seem to quite catch up with Timothy Carroll again, or even Jay Horak for that matter. But that top three here in this race is pretty... Usually, let's say top four is pretty well spread out and pretty well commanding their positions here with only 6 minutes left in the race. I mean, it's a little hard for major shift to occur in that time frame.
Coming up on 5 minutes to go here. Beautiful day, other than being chilly, but you bring yourself a little sweatshirt and everything's fine. But it was definitely sweatshirt weather here at Buttonwillow. Oh, yes, very much so. And I think your microphone's on mute.
I didn't push the button all the way up. I keep flicking it on. It's just kind of like an instinctual reaction.
Yeah.
You don't want to get hot mic'd or whatever, and then I forget to flick it back on. 135 here out on the track is about to get a little notification. I think went on and off and maybe re-entered a little bit dangerously. That's Johnny Crean. For
boy.
So, go fast and get in trouble, I guess.
Currently 57 degrees here. It was 31 degrees when I woke up this morning at Buttonwillow.
So you told me, yeah, and it was very cold when I got in. Not, I think about 10 degrees warmer than that, but California cold, as you call it the other day. And certainly chilly, I think. Certainly chilly even now. I think you said it was, what,
57 degrees, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's not freezing or anything, but it's definitely a different environment. I mean, we get it from all angles out here at Buttonwillow, because some days you come out here, you know, in October or September or June or whatever, and it's, you know, 100-something degrees and nobody wants to go outside, and then you come in November and suddenly it's cold and nobody wants to go outside.
Yeah.
So
I think most of the people would rather have this weather than 100 degrees outside.
I was just going to say that.
You know.
If I had a choice.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's the stick being waved at Johnny Korean most aggressively.
Yes.
So that he realizes. Love it when they do the wave and then they like do the specific like.
Yes.
I can't. Obviously, I don't have a camera on me, so I can't show you the gesture. But they kind of like point really specifically at the car to like reinforce that you've been a very naughty driver.
Yeah.
Like it's very funny.
So we have 2 types of black flags in the SCCA.
Yes.
Well, 3 types, actually. We have the meatball, which is a black flag with an orange ball in the center. That means there's something not working right on your car, and you should go in and have it attended to by your pit crew. Then we have the full black flag, which is the one you actually have to stop at the pits and have a discussion with someone in a white shirt.
The really bad one.
Yep. But before you get the full black flag, you might get what we call a furled black flag or a black stick. And that's when they shake the stick at you, the black flag all furled up, and they put your number out there, and it's basically like the none before they get sent to the principal's office.
The warning.
Yes.
The warning that you're getting is that you cross that, you're crossing a line.
That's right.
Fortunately for Johnny Crean, that came with about 3 laps left in the race, so hopefully he can be well behaved out there on the track for the next couple of goes around. He's not going to do anything too bad. In that set amount of time, and
I was saying, usually there's a hierarchy. So you get to go off the track once and you don't get anything. The second time you'll probably get that furled black flag. The third time, depending on how egregious it is, you might have to come in and talk with the people with the white shirts.
Yeah.
So
the one you don't, like I said, that's the one you don't want. You don't want the full black flag.
That's right. That's right. All right. I just heard from race control that we got 1 lap to go next time by. So when James Lawley comes across the line for the final time here, we will see Tom Jones, not the singer Tom Jones, but our Tom Jones. He is our starter today, at least for this group, and he will display the white flag, and we'll have 1 more lap to go here.
I wonder if he knows Steve Martin.
I don't know. I wonder if Steve Martin had a problem with his car because Martin Short was putting
there you go.
Stuff in his fuel tank or something.
Water in the tank.
Exactly.
Why not? Let's say we got Steve Martin. We nearly had Bob Hope. Unfortunately, it's Tom Hope. We were so close.
That's right. That's right.
Keeping an eye, by the way, on how things are shifting out deeper into the race. I mean, we said that it didn't feel particularly competitive in this group today. It's not particularly competitive. There hasn't been a lot of shifting. Valentino Gabarino has actually gone up. The worst, I think, is Dimitri Nolan had an off and on and has just kind of slowed down ever since then. His last lap was at a 2:02, which is very slow, and he just ran a 3:08, so he's slowing down, which is unfortunate there for Dimitri Nolan, and sometimes that just happens, usually mechanical, to get in that pattern of just the car going slower and slower every lap.
Yep.
And then you just want to be done.
Exactly. Well, they've only got to endure that for another 35 seconds here. White flag is in the air. So next time by, we'll be getting this one wrapped up. And, of course, we get that white flag out right at the end here as time runs out. So the clock's actually probably pretty close to right today. So I'm happy about that. Sorry I got up late. Of course, the clock is unofficial time, but it's pretty close typically, unless I really screw it up. That's what happens when you're relying on me to do math sometimes.
Yeah, math is hard. Looks like Tom Hope might have experienced some trouble as well, because you see that salmon color there on the pillar. That means that his car is out.
Yep.
So hopefully nothing too bad at this stage. But as you see, he just continues to go down the board. That probably means he's had to go into the pits for some reason. I didn't hear anything over the net about him doing anything egregious, so I just assume either an intentional choice or some sort of mechanical error.
Exactly. And I actually see a slower car off on the backstretch, which may mean maybe him just trying to get to the
Well,
finish line
I
here.
think that might be Dimitri Nolan,
Oh, okay,
actually,
okay.
who's also in a similar position of going very slow. We'll keep an eye out for both of them. I mean, like we said, good news is the race is over.
Yeah.
We've got the checkered flag is being waved by the starter, and here comes your race winner. That'll be James Lawley, number 77, leader of the F3 and overall leader of the race, and he will cross in fine fashion there. His best lap of the day, a 140.383, which is a spectacular time there for the Formula 3 car. And that, I think, is probably going to be the only big fight we're going to see on this final lap. And by fight, I mean just, you know, not one. Don't know why I called it that. There's no fight. He's been holding a solid lead the entire time and has been a good at least 4 to 8 seconds ahead of his nearest competitor throughout.
There you go.
Very different from yesterday.
Yes.
Incredibly different from yesterday.
Yep.
There was a lot of scuffling in this group yesterday.
Well,
So
yesterday was helped or hindered by a couple of full course cautions, so get everybody bunched back together.
that's right. You're right. Actually, there
which
was
we didn't have
full
today.
Course. We
so.
started on a double yellow.
Yes. So.
All right. Well, I think we can safely do the raceschool.com unofficial results here. So let's start at the top of the order. In first place, number 77, James Lawley, the leader of the race overall and leader of the Formula 3s. He's followed by number 131, Barrett Wolf. And then number 37, Jay Horak. In fourth, number 8, Timothy Carroll, the leader of the FX group. In fifth, number 135, Johnny Crean, the leader of the P1 group. In sixth, number 36, Chris Emmanuel, leader of the Formula Atlantic group. In seventh, number 29, Christian Ockpish. In eighth, number 6, Tom Van Wee. In ninth, number 83, Cameron Parsons. In 10th, number 67, William Weaver. Followed by CJ Ray, Stu Tabak, Brad Drew, Valentino Garbarino, Ethan Sterling, Gokul Mandan, Lars Jensen, Dimitri Nolan, Taylor Carmona, and then Robert Krajewski and Andy Chan.
All right, that's going to do it. Your unofficial results brought to you by raceschool.com. When we come back, Formula Continental, we're probably about 5 or 6 minutes away from that. So stay with us, everybody. We will be back in just a few minutes. Welcome back to Buttonwillow Raceway Park Calc Club SCCA races presented by Porterfield Brakes. We appreciate their help with us all year long. Let's get right to our starting lineup here for Formula Continental. Tristan Parker, take it away.
All right, here is your raceschool.com starting order. In ninth, number 46, John Fabianic. In eighth, number 9, Gary Peterson. Alongside him, number 65, Jeremy Shaw. In sixth, number 96, Harinder De Silva. In fifth, number 24, Jace Petty. In fourth, number 7, Daniel Swanbeck. In third, number 3, how appropriate, Mark Peller. In second, number 21, Ricky Simpson. And then your overall leader, starting out of the gate, is number 87, Troy Shooter.
All right, there we have it. This is your Formula 2000 championship race here for the Formula 2000 West Coast Series here. Formula Continentals are 2.0 liter powered motors, and that's where they get the Formula 2000 terminology. So, but there we go. We got that happening here. This is, of course, our starting order. It was just by raceschool.com.
They are all Van Diemen's.
Yes, except there's one Piper, isn't there?
There's one Piper. Yeah, I was just going to say they're all Van Diemen's except for John Fabianic. I hope I'm getting that right. Fabianic. He's a Piper DF5. He's the only one there that's breaking the mold. Oldest car on the track, just for fun reference, that'll be your pole position. 1999 Van Diemen, driven by Troy Shooter. Newest one, I think, is a 2008 Van Diemen being brought in by Jeremy Shaw and Gary Peterson. They're the newest cars out there for whatever that matters. A couple of out-of-towners in this one, too. We've got Daniel Swanbeck, who's coming down from San Jose, so he's an SFR region member. And then Jace Petty from Oakland, Illinois. He's a Central Illinois member.
Here we go.
It's interesting. It's been a busy weekend. It's genuinely been a busy weekend here at Buttonwillow. One of the busiest weekends I think I've seen in a while. We had obviously that big group to start us off there. The Formula Continentals are out in force. We'll get to our SPEC Corvettes later. That's a big group here this weekend as well. Lots of people turning out for the last race of the 2024 season, which we love to see, honestly.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yesterday, this race was, I would say, relatively competitive overall, Brian. We saw a lot of attempts by, I think it was mostly a lot of Ricky Simpson. Daniel Swanbeck was in the mix. Troy Shooter was holding on to that lead position. Mark Peller, that top four really kind of going back and forth there with a couple of sort of later game challenges, I think, by Jace Petty. So, yeah, there's a potential for a good race here today, and I think all these drivers, they know, obviously, as we were talking, what's at stake for them here for their race. It's a big one for them as Formula Continental drivers. So they're, ready to give it their all. I mean, that said, first race of the day, far different from yesterday. A lot more sedate, a lot more calm. So maybe we're looking at something similar here today, but you would imagine with the championship points and whatnot on the line, Brian, it'll be a little bit more hectic here for these guys.
All right, we should see our pace car here coming up down pit lane on the inside of pit lane, and that means we are there he is. That means we are very close to get ready for a green flag here. Green flag is in the air as our cars come flying past us here for this 30-minute race.
Were quite bunched up, actually, as they went down towards sunrise. So we'll see how that kind of plays out, honestly. Definitely some jockeying for position, I think, in that starting grid, even probably being a little bit naughtier than they really should have been when they came past the starting stand. I think it was maybe number 65 who was trying to kick up the inside out of the start, and that will, not get them any plaudits here in the books, but that's okay.
Two cars already a little bit of breakaway here, and then you've got most of the rest of the pack filing in behind him about a half a second back.
Yes.
So that is the way they come through Cotton Corners and up towards the Grapevine here.
Yeah, I believe it's Troy Shooter out in front, or it might be Daniel Swanbeck. They're both racing in primarily black cars, so it makes it a little bit harder for us to differentiate. I mean, I do generally wish it's easier for us to tell who's who sometimes. And you think it would be with all the bright colors that are on display. Though black, not necessarily a bright color, but you know what I mean. But up here in the tower, I mean, our view is somewhat limited, so we do the best that we can.
That's right. That's right. Now we've got a 3-car pack coming up front. We just saw them come through. And we will wait till we see them now join us here on the front straight here. It's about a 30-second run from that Phil Hill camera around the I guess it would be the west side of the racetrack, and then they come around and come back towards the front straight here, and you'll see them emerge from behind the tree there.
Unfortunately, it's the one part of the track that we can't see very well, or one of the 2 parts of the track we can't see very well because there are trees. But on the new racetrack, there are no trees. So.
That's right.
We hate nature, and we made sure that they won't be present. It won't be present on the new track. We'll make sure that they'll never see a tree ever again.
That's, if that tree ever gets cut down, they'll know exactly. It'll come right to you or me and say, "Yeah,
we gotta take out a whole line of them." So
exactly.
Obviously, when those trees were first planted, that was a lovely idea for beautifying the racetrack, and now it's become a obstructive problem. But anyway, just to clarify, things have actually shifted up already in this race. So I think we are in for a good one here because Ricky Simpson came across the line first. Yep. And then he was being chased by Daniel Swanbeck, who I did mention was in the mix yesterday. Then Troy Shooter, Mark Peller, and Jace Petty. So definitely some shifting there at the top. And that's something I think to definitely keep an eye on. Ricky Simpson he ran a good race yesterday, and you got to honestly watch out for him. He's in a very good position to take this whole thing if he can. The one driver, by the way, that I did not mention at our starting lineup, and I should have
off
done.
there.
Uh-oh.
Not sure which one it is, but it definitely looks like somebody went off, and there they are coming back onto the racetrack.
Yeah, we've been getting a fair amount of that here today. I was going to say, one driver I didn't mention who I forgot to mention, sorry, they were at the end of the list here. Andre Cipriano is out there as well. He unfortunately was DQ'd during qualifying, or didn't qualify.
Right.
I think because he had weight issues on the car, but he is out there racing, so that must have been resolved. Looks like a fight now between Daniel Swanbeck and Troy Shooter. Troy has overtaken Daniel, put himself in second place. Daniel is chasing close behind, only about 0.157 of a second. Jace Petty chasing Mark Peller as well, 0.2 there in that. So that top group of 5 here in this race remaining relatively tight. There's about a 3-second gap between Peller and Swanbeck, as you can see on that pillar, but that's close-ish in racing terms. That's not an insurmountable distance, so this is still very much a ball game here in the top 5. I will say, though, Ricky Simpson looking very comfortable in that lead spot. Does not, I think, feel too much pressure coming from Troy Shooter or Daniel Swanbeck, who seem, I think, more focused on fighting each other than they do catching up with Ricky Simpson, which I must admit, Brian, is often what tends to happen between second and third place cars.
Well, and I got to tell you, Ricky Simpson, this is his first weekend in Formula Continental. He's one of the guys who's normally out here in Formula Ford.
Yes, you mentioned that yesterday.
And so he is obviously, and he had some mechanical problems yesterday. So good to see that the car's running strong today. And I'm not surprised that he is out front. He's usually out front when he's driving the Formula Ford. So good on him for that. And, of course, he's also got the fast lap of the day. So.
Yeah, he really went hard on it on that first lap. Unfortunately, we don't know exactly where he made the pass, but he made it somewhere. He was not the lead race car coming out of Sunrise, so he definitely had to have made moves somewhere on that towards the end of the track in order to get in that position. And when they come past the straightaway again, we'll get an idea for what the grouping is looking like now. And yeah, well, Ricky Simpson, he's got a challenge on his hands. Troy Shooter trying to sneak around the inside of the track there as they head towards the Sunrise turn. He won't find it in time though. But this is what I was talking about earlier with a counterclockwise formation. Drivers love this straightaway into the Sunrise. They absolutely love it. They try and find a way around. We see people go under, we see people go over, and a lot of the time it's a real effort on whoever's being chased to kind of just block those passing routes. It gives Ricky Simpson something to think about and something to look at in his rearview mirror. And if you want to get an idea for how close it is, you can just see on the pillar right there, it was 0.098 seconds between the two of them when they cross the line. So Troy Shooter is hungry, and Ricky Simpson, he needs to look like less of a snack at the moment.
Well, and Troy Shooter, he is the series points leader, and he also just dropped a purple lap of a 1:45.305. So his fast lap of the day is the fast lap of anybody in this race, and he is all over the rear wing on that Ricky Simpson car. So Simpson will be with his hands full. Troy Shooter always strong when he's at Buttonwillow. And then a nice good battle here for third place as well. That was Swanback and Peller who came through our camera there. And then right behind him is Jace Petty. The next car through should be Gary Peterson. So that's where they look like right now. We should be seeing our leaders coming into our view here also in just a second.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how this plays out here, because I mean, if you're in the position of Troy Shearer, obviously, like you said, good driver, and there we go again, coming down into Sunrise once more, trying to pass there on the outside of the turn, and he will be, by the looks of it, denied just one more time. But the ideal passing strategy, I can think, is being shown to us now. What he did, and you can't really see it on any of our cameras, but it might be reflected here when they're coming up into the grapevine, is I saw Troy Shooter go wide, try and get around the outside edge. Ricky Simpson dropped up to block that, or laid out to block it, and then you saw Troy Shooter dip in and try and go underneath him, coming down into the next part of the course. So let's take a look here. No, holding on. So Ricky Simpson still there in the lead. Troy Shooter right behind him, though. But now they've got another vehicle into the mix. Daniel Swanbeck, less than a second there back. He's just biding his time, looking for opportunities as well. So the top three really heating up. Then, of course, in fourth and fifth, you got to fight on your hands as well, because Mark Peller being chased by Jace Petty. There's not a lot of room to rest for any of these drivers. But here comes that top three again, Brian. Let's see what they've got in the tank here going into Phil Hill. It's not an ideal passing spot, but you get an idea of what that layout looks like. And Troy Shooter, I think he's just going to keep trying his luck whenever he's got an opportunity, and you would think that eventually he might be able to get through. Yeah. And he's got 20 minutes. He's 21 minutes, so
there's plenty of time.
The race
there's no
is still
hurry.
Young. Yeah,
there's absolutely no hurry.
Uh-oh.
What are you hearing?
I hear the words car 87, which is Troy Shooter, but I didn't hear what had happened with it. So let's keep an eye out here on the straightaway. If Troy Shooter doesn't show up immediately behind Ricky Simpson, we know that there have been problems. This is the one thing I will say when you're... Oh, there he goes. No, he's good. He's still in it. He's got his pass, and he actually came across the line ahead, but then they head into Sunrise, and Ricky Simpson takes it right back. So really not giving him any room to breathe. Those two are going hell for leather here, Brian, at a very early point in this race, because that was Troy Shooter's fastest lap, the fastest lap overall, I believe, or no, close to his fastest lap overall.
Yeah.
Putting a lot of effort in at the start, and that's an interesting prospect, because you don't actually often, I feel like, see drivers fight this hard in the first 10 minutes. Usually you have your initial jostling, everybody kind of falls into a rhythm, and then you start making moves when there's about 10 minutes left in the race. Usually you don't see guys just going at it
right
for the first 10 minutes, because logically speaking, that's rougher on the car, rougher on the tires, rougher on you as the driver. Because if you're thinking about the amount of mental and physical energy being expended by Ricky Simpson and Troy Shooter right now in their there at the lead,
right,
that's got to last them another 20 minutes.
Well, that's got to last. I think part of the thing, though, is we've got three cars in this mix with Daniel Swan back there also. And
he's sitting pretty.
And now you have to, not only worried about the guy in front of you, but you're worried about the guy behind you. And there's a car putting up a lot of that. Looked almost like smoke. I hope that was not smoke, but that's what it looked like. The way it was pluming out of the back of that. Pluming out, I came up with that pretty quickly here.
That's a good word.
So we will see if that car ends up on pit lane there, and hopefully he's not oiling down the racetrack your leaders here. Look at those three cars coming at us right now and coming across the line. It looks like Ricky Simpson is your new race leader here, and he has got Troy Shooter right behind him, but Daniel Swanback is just enjoying the show up front.
He's in the best position of this entire race right now, because when you think about it, as you were kind of saying, he just has to sit there.
That's right.
And if they're going to battle it out like this and go hard and put their cars through all this, and he's just kind of hanging in, he's definitely not running as tough of a race right now as those two are running. And, bless them, I will also add, they are good drivers. A lot of them race a lot, but they're not pros. They're not training in a gym, every day.
Maybe they are. You'd be surprised how much work they put into this.
You're right. You're totally right. I wouldn't know for sure. But so it's just the strain is what I think I'd be concerned about, because that's a lot of focus. We were talking about this yesterday, actually, and the idea that car racing from a layman's perspective is just cars going fast. But obviously there's a ton of thinking and strategy that goes into it. And if you ever spend any time at all talking with a race car driver at any level, really, about the actual act of racing, they will be more than happy, I'm sure, to opine about how, much thought goes into it, and the I'm this fast and he's this fast and my tires are like this and they're like that, and then this is how I take this turn, and just a litany of things to think about that I think a lot of average fans don't necessarily consider. Right. Even if you're watching somebody like Formula One, where the strategy is more spoon-fed to you by the broadcast, you don't always think about how much thought has to go into this and how much mental elasticity the driver has to have in addition to everything else.
Right.
But things have changed now, because it's Troy Shooter back in the lead. Ricky Simpson has dropped back, and that's the biggest gap I think we've seen between the two of them in at least 3 laps here. 0.69 Ricky Simpson is back by. So I don't know what went down beyond the trees where we are forbidden to tread, but something went down over there to necessitate that change.
And there are those 3 cars. You can see them way off in the distance there as they come into Cotton Corners now. You're right. This is the biggest gap between all 3 cars that we've seen since basically the start of this race. Troy Shooter may have just said, I've had enough of this. I'm going to try to drive away a little bit.
He definitely is, because you can see him coming down through the kind of dogleg right now, and he is far ahead. He is really putting it on. But again, this goes back to how much is in the car, how much is in the tank, how much is in the tires. Can you maintain that pace throughout? The whole group is widening out. This has been a weird one. This is very much not the way that we tend to see things happen. So an interesting race in and of itself, because you can see the big spacing right there. They just came through Phil Hill, the big spacing. Suddenly they're all apart.
Yeah. And we still have 16 minutes to go in this race, folks. Lots could happen here as we get into the second half of this contest. Right now, you got Troy Shooter with the lead. Him and Ricky Simpson traded back and forth, and then the whole time Daniel Swanback just sat there and took a look at things and kept his nose clean. The question I have is, has he been saving his tires for a big push here in the last half of the race? We will not know until it's over.
And here they come through again. So it does look like Troy Shooter kind of putting up a bit of a commanding lead right there. Wow, his fastest lap of the race so far, 1:44.37. Now a full 2.6 seconds ahead of Ricky Simpson. So over the course of the last lap, he added 2 seconds almost to his time separation between them. So he is putting it on right now. And Ricky Simpson is just kind of can't really do much, doesn't seem to be able to do much about it.
No.
Odd.
But again, we got a lot of racing action still ahead of us. So
that's a very good point. Yeah, we're just about halfway through the race here, which actually I guess means it's a good time to do the raceschool.com mid-race recap. So at the top in the lead, obviously, number 87, Troy Shooter. In second place, number 21, Ricky Simpson. In third, number 7, Daniel Swanbeck. In fourth, number 24, Jace Petty. In fifth, number 3, Mark Peller. In sixth, number 9, Gary Peterson. In seventh, number 96, Harendra De Silva. In eighth, number 65, Jeremy Shaw. In ninth, number 46, John Fabianic. And then in 10th, number 5, Andres Cipriano. And that is your mid-race recap brought to you by raceschool.com, their first weekend of sponsorship here at Buttonwillow with us.
Absolutely. And again, we appreciate them being here with us. Let me find our race leaders now as we zip our way through this. Yeah, Troy Shooter, man, put down just a hot lap there with a 1:44.370. Ricky Simpson's fast lap up to this point has been a 1:46.2. So I don't know if he's got a little go juice in there, a little afterburners, a little warp drive.
I mean, he's clearing them by a huge distance now.
Yep.
Huge distance. That gap is 4.96 seconds. So Troy Shooter, I don't know what Troy Shooter did.
Yeah, I mean, well, he certainly put on some
Go fast.
Put on some go fast, but
Yeah.
we also don't know if there's any. Ricky Simpson had some mechanical problems yesterday. Are those resurfacing here in the second half of this race? I'm not quite sure, but wow, look at the gap
That's
that Troy Shooter has.
silly.
I mean, it is going to be. It may be a full straightaway by the time they get back up to us up front here. The real battle now, it looks like, is coming down for the second place on the podium. Daniel Swanbeck still there waiting to see what he can do.
I don't understand how that happened, but
Yeah.
good for him. I mean, you say maybe Ricky Simpson is having mechanical issues or something. I don't think he is, because his times are consistent.
Yeah.
He's not, lagging behind. It's just that Troy Shooter is that much faster.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and he's not pulling away from, or Swanbeck's not getting around him very easily either. So I'm going to lean towards just Troy Shooter decided I want to go.
He's just good. Yeah.
Well, he's definitely good. He
Just
is the
good.
leader in the point standings in this
just
championship. So
Built diff, as the children would say. Built diff.
you are far hipper than I am.
Oh, I'm way out, so it doesn't speak well for either of us, I'm afraid. But he's just built diff, Troy Shooter. And Ricky Simpson just, that's unfortunate. Not a lot you can do about it. Troy Shooter coming across the line right now, 145. He's made it past Andre Cipriano now, so lapping. Here comes Ricky Simpson, 6.5 seconds back. Maybe a little bit more consistency now they're falling into here in the last 12 minutes, but the idea of Ricky Simpson being able to make up a 6.5 second gap, even in the time that's still allotted to us in this race, is a little hard to believe. And that's not a knock on Ricky Simpson. That's just Troy Shooter has just blown it open in about 2 laps.
The other question is, with Ricky Simpson being this his first time in the car, I don't know who is prepping that car, if that's a new car to his team or if he's working with another team, with a car that's been fully prepped. But if this is their first weekend and it's their car, maybe they just haven't quite hit on the setup yet. And sometimes that takes a couple of race weekends to figure out. But even though they may not have hit on it, he's still doing well enough to keep in front of Swanbeck and hold on to that second place.
Yeah, I think the thing for me and what continues to kind of, be the, what the heck moment of this is just that opening of the race was so fiercely competitive.
Right.
And then Troy Shearer just opened it up and was suddenly like, all right, bye. And you wonder, could he have done that the whole time? What was he waiting for that he needed to make that go the way that it did? Because you would not, if you had told me when we were at about 10 minutes into this thing that Troy Shearer was going to open up a 6.5 second gap on Ricky Simpson, I would have been mystified as to how that would happen, and then it just happened. So
that's right.
Good for him. I mean, he genuinely could just be going that fast. He comes across the line here again, 144. So he's staying very consistent in that time of the 144 time. And it looks like Ricky Simpson may have made up a little bit of time right there. He's just come in. Oh, never mind, I lied. He's farther behind now than he was. He's 9.6 seconds behind. So Troy Shooter just going to take this bad boy to the bank. I think there's nothing that can stop him, that's for sure, which means that all attention now, I think, is on Daniel Swanbeck and Ricky Simpson to see who gets the coveted third place here. Harinder De Silva down the line in 7th is actually right on the heels of Gary Peterson, only about 0.3 of a second between the two of them. So something else to keep an eye on. But really, for this top 3, Daniel Swanbeck, 0.7 a second behind Ricky Simpson. Ricky Simpson needs to watch out. He put a lot of effort into that early part of the race as well, while we were talking about Daniel Swanbeck just hanging back. So opportunity could be knocking in the next 9 minutes or so.
That is exactly true. You're watching the Cal Club SCCA races here at Buttonwillow Raceway Park, presented by Porterfield Brakes. They are our presenting sponsor. They've been our presenting sponsor for 3 years now. Huge supporter of the SCCA and club racers. You can go find out information on them and all the things that they do, much more than just brakes. It's porterfield-brakes.com. And if you're an SCCA member, they've got a great discount program for SCCA members. You've got to call them to get the discount, but check them out. Porterfield Racing Brakes, Porterfield hyphen or dash brakes.com. Coming up on we're getting deep into the last third of this race. Gonna have a short break after this race to allow our volunteer workers to sit down, take a load off for a few minutes, grab either a warm drink if they're from this area or a cold drink if they're from Wisconsin.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
Troy Shooter in the pit lane.
Oh boy.
On a mechanical.
Oh my gosh.
So Ricky Simpson is now in the lead. Daniel Swanbeck behind him. Troy Shooter is
dropping
out
through the order.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if he does get to go back out, he will not get to go.
Oh, that has got to be upsetting.
Yeah, absolutely.
That has got to be.
Is he out on the track somewhere? Stop.
I
don't see
heard
him
the
on
call for a pit, but we don't see him in the pit. So let's see what develops here. But he's got the salmon colors up, so he's
definitely dropping through the field.
Oh, that is unfortunate.
Well, I don't see him on any of our cameras pulled off there.
Oh, boy. Well, you don't want to see it end that way. That doesn't really feel fair.
And I'm not sure how this works for their championship either. Let me see if I can pull up the numbers again here. He had a 24-point lead going into this race, and Gary Peterson, who's now in 6th place, is the 2nd place car. So I don't think that he's going to lose his championship over this because there's 25 points for the win, I believe. Let me look here. What do you get for a race win? It looks like you get 30 points for a race win. So I think Mr. Peterson would have to leapfrog a bunch of cars to get to that. So I think Shooter's championship is still intact.
Well, that's good, at least for him.
That would be a tough way to lose it, wouldn't it?
That would be. And I mean, he's definitely out. There's no doubt about it. He's pulled off one of the turns closer to the end of the track. So he's definitely done.
Yeah, because I don't see him there on pit lane, and if he had just driven through pit lane, we would see him under that blue tent there going through.
Turn 6.
Okay, so he's out in turn 6.
He's out on turn 6. They're going to tow him in at the end of the race by the sound of it, but he is done. So it is now just Ricky Simpson and Daniel Swanbeck at the top. Feel bad for Troy Shooter. I mean, that sucks. Nothing you can really do about it. I did say, and I will say that I feel slightly vindicated because I said you're putting so much effort into it at the start, and it really does become a matter of can the car take it, and car couldn't take it. I mean, he was going so fast. So
yeah, well, and now we have a battle for the top step on the podium, only a half second back, Daniel Swanbeck. So now we went from a battle for 2nd place to a battle for 1st place. We're going to just sit on this camera until I pick up that battle. It'll come into my view eventually here.
I do want to give some credit, by the way, just down the line here to Harinder de Silva, who did get around, I believe, both Jeremy Shaw and Gary Peterson to push himself up into 5th place. He's 21 seconds behind Mark Peller, so he's not catching up there, but it's good racing down there in the lower part of the order, so good effort from Harinder to do that. But yeah, Ricky Simpson, Daniel Swanbeck, that's the one to watch now. Now, the question does become kind of a mirror of what may have happened to Troy Shooter here is Ricky Simpson has been putting a lot of effort into this, putting a lot of strain on the car. Daniel Swanbeck has not. And now you're coming down to the final stretch here. Both of them just put up their fastest laps of the race so far. Both of them sitting at 146s. Not a lot between them. And an opportunity, again, for Daniel Swanbeck. And we will, I think, see them just on the camera in just a minute. And yeah, this is a big opening for Daniel Swanbeck here if he can find it. There's got to be an opening.
Absolutely. And Swanbeck, he's in that black and green car there, just keeping an eye on Ricky Simpson. He's got 4 minutes left to go here, so probably 3 laps left here for him to decide how he is going to go on the attack. And if he can get close enough to do so, last time by, still about 0.6 of a second separating the two of them. But you're right. I think the driver who's done the least amount of stress and strain on his car in the first part in this race has been Swanbeck. So if he has been able to keep enough in the battle tank, in the gas tank here, he might have a chance to attack here. And I think I might have missed them come through here because I was talking too much. I am actually talking and changing the cameras here, folks. So if you ever notice, well, why the hell is he not getting work? Because I'm trying to do 2 things at once, and sometimes that's hard. So
nature of the beast.
It is. So coming up on 3 minutes to go. I don't see the white flag, and I haven't heard them call for it just yet. So I'm thinking we're going to get another.
I think we're going to get
2 laps
more
after this one.
I think we're going to get 2 more probably after this lap is wrapped up. And well, you just saw Ricky Simpson come by.
Yep, here they come into our view right now.
The white flag is in hand, so we know that means the next time around we'll see that. Meanwhile, the black flag is also in hand. Number 3, Mark Peller getting a wave of the stick for his bad behavior.
Bad boys. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when the black flag gets pointed at you?
I know it's a black flag, and I know why. There are not a lot of colors left in terms of flags. It does feel very dramatic, though.
Well, that's
when
the
they
point.
Say, show him the black flag.
There is Mr. Simpson right there in front, right behind him. Daniel Swanbeck. They've got about 24 corners left to go here before they settle this one. Who is it going to be? Still too much in question here to make a call at this point. That is not the duo racing for the lead here. They're coming through your view right now. You'll see them. That first car there, that should be Simpson. And the second car right there is Swanbeck. I think that's those two. Sometimes it's hard to tell, but I'm pretty certain those were our leaders right there as they came through, heading up towards Phil Hill. Ooh, we just had a car go off here. Not quite sure which one that is. That's the telltale oopsie dust.
Jeremy Shaw.
Okay, Jeremy Shaw.
So deeper in
the seventh place. He is in the number 65 car.
Oh, there it is. Ricky Simpson coming through, but he's got a good opportunity here because there is a car right there in between him and Daniel Swanbeck. Now, that might have actually just messed this whole thing up for Daniel Swanbeck because he got stuck behind what might have been John Fabianic as they came through Sunrise, and that just let Ricky Simpson go open bore on his car. He just opened up the engine going out of that turn, and that could cost him. We'll get an idea when they come up here, and yeah, look at that gap that's opened up between the two of them. You'll get a really good idea, I think, of, or you should be able to see it here on the camera, because that's the orange and teal right there. That's Ricky Simpson, and there's Daniel Swanbeck. And even I think in the way that Daniel Swanbeck just took that turn, you can get a read for kind of maybe the desperation that's coming out right there, because now he is hard pressed to play catch up, and I don't think he probably can catch up. A good maneuver by Ricky Simpson coming down the straightaway to just duck in around John Fabianic and use his car as a blocker, unintentionally so perhaps. So we saw that in another one of our races yesterday. Very well executed. Similar vibes here today.
All right, we should see our leaders coming through into our view here in just a second.
Well, here he comes. Ricky Simpson across the line, waving his hand at the starter as the checkered flag waves back. Daniel Swanbeck there at a 3.86. Unfortunate there for Daniel Swanbeck that he wasn't able to make it up in the end. But Ricky Simpson doing a great race right there, Brian. Really holding to it and clearly happy about his victory. You feel ashamed about Troy Shooter right there.
Yeah, definitely a tough day for Troy Shooter, but Ricky Simpson in his second race ever as a Formula Continental driver takes the win. So let's do our full field rundown here, of course, presented by raceschool.com. We will get that going here.
Well, here are your unofficial results. Number 1 is number 21, Ricky Simpson there. In second place, number 7, Daniel Swanbeck. In third, number 24, Jace Petty. In fourth, number 3, Mark Peller. In fifth, number 96, Horinda de Silva. In sixth, number 9, Gary Peterson. In seventh, number 65, Jeremy Shaw. In eighth, number 46, Jan Fabianic. In ninth, number 5, Andre Cipriano. And then in 10th, completing the race on laps, but not finishing the race in the end, number 87, Troy Shooter. And that is your unofficial results brought to you by raceschool.com.
All right, that's going to do it for us now. We're going to be right back for we have a short break here, and then when we come back, we'll have our, let me pull up the schedule here to make sure I don't speak out of line. 2 more races after the break. We've got SPEC Racer. Oh, wait, do we have another race right now?
3 more races. So we've got Group 4 coming up to the line
I've lost my mind.
You're fine. Group 4 coming up to the line next. We'll just be seeing them in just a few minutes. That is a big and very mixed group, but mostly SPEC Miatas. Don't go anywhere. Going to have a good race there with that group.
Oh, boy. All right, that's going to do it. We're going to take a break so I can reset my noggin, and then we'll come back for our next race in just a few minutes. Welcome back to Buttonwillow Raceway Park Race 4, or Race Group 4. It's our third race of the day. Getting ready to go underway here. This is our tin top group, our slower sedan group. We've got the big bore group a little bit later, and some cool news coming out of that group as well. But let's go through the starting order here for this race, presented by RaceSchool.com. Starting in row number 8. You've got James Bishop and Russell Serta. In row number 7, Aaron Coulter on the inside, Broderick Dunlap on the outside. Now we go to row number 6, that's Jack McEachern and Bill Nelson. McEachern in an STL car, Bill Nelson in a SPEC Miata. Row number 5, Preston Lerner on the inside in a SPEC Miata TSMT car. Next to him on the outside, Darren Murdoch in the STL05 car. Now we head to row number 4, and we've got Kayla Etherington on the inside. She won T4 yesterday. On the outside is Stephen Kiritusis. I'm going to have to ask him how he pronounces his name. Row number 3 is Famous Dale Schumacher in the STU 52 car. Next to him, Philip Clark on the outside of row number 3. In the number 33, Philip Clark in the T4 car. Now we move on to row number 4 on the inside. Clement Lee. All the rest of these cars. Well, not all the rest. This one is the second fastest car in SPEC Miata. Next to him, Evan Jacobs also in a SPEC Miata car. That's row number 2. Row number 1, Cooper Hicks, the only SPEC MX-5 car out there. And next to him is Ren Messenger in the number 3 car. That is a SPEC Miata car. That's how they're going to start for race group number 4 here at Buttonwillow Raceway Park. Of course, the starting order brought to you by RaceSchool.com. Brian Belansky, Tristan Parker on the call today. And we are going to have, hopefully this will be a really good one, Tristan. Always a fun class to watch out here. But we'll see how it all works out.
Yeah, the SPEC Miatas usually put on a pretty good show. So I'm excited to see them run. Cooper Hicks in that SPEC MX, he's running his own race. You can see from just his starting position here that he's way out ahead of everybody else. So there is a little bit of an effort, I think, to stagger these groups. So the SPEC Miatas in their own group, the STLs in their own group, and then the SPEC MX just kind of leading the whole thing, which is very similar to what we saw yesterday. So probably won't hear us talk very much about Cooper Hicks, but you're definitely going to hear us talk about Ren Messenger, Clement Lee, Evan Jacobs. The top 3 yesterday was very competitive.
Yes. Can't
imagine that they're going to be any less competitive today.
That would be my guess, too.
It would be my guess. You saw, who was it that came out on top yesterday?
I think it was
Ren
Messenger.
Yeah, I think it was Ren Messenger who came out on top. Clement Lee fell behind Evan Jacobs and could not catch him back up, if I remember correctly.
Right.
So definitely some competition to be had there at the top of this group. And you never know. If at any given time, you're going to see maybe Bill Nelson or Aaron Coulter kind of just shoot up into that mix as well, and that does sometimes happen. So we'll keep a very close eye on that, and definitely we're going to be saying those names an awful lot here as we get ready for this one to get underway.
All right, pace cars on pit lane, waiting for the starter to come out and give us a green flag here. We will see if that happens, and it does look like the starter is given a green flag. You'll see that one car, that's Cooper Hicks. He is the SPEC MX-5 car getting out front, and then you will now see the rest of your SPEC Miata field coming through next, and that is that group of 4. And then there's your SMT car right behind them. And then another little group of cars. That's pretty much everybody else. That's your T4 cars, your STL cars. That is the next big group you're seeing coming through, and that's how we get them started here at Buttonwillow. Race number 4 underway.
Yeah. Three vigorous waves of the green flag down there for the starter, making him work for it here in group number 4.
Absolutely,
making him earn every inch of the starting baton. But anyway, we are checking it out right now, and already that lead is looking a little tense there. 4 cars gathering. That'll be Clement Lee, Preston Lerner, Evan Jacobs, and I believe you should be seeing somewhere in that mix Ren Messenger.
Yeah. And this is our second group of cars. It's actually the bigger group, but it's several classes here. Like I said, STL, T4, STU is in there. And there they come in and out of our view. And there is that lonely Cooper Hicks. It's good to be lonely when you're lonely out front.
Yeah, when you're just doing your own thing,
Yeah.
essentially. And I mean, all good for him. His car is
Ooh,
of a.
puff of smoke there from the SPEC Miata cars.
Yeah, that's
Or not dust, I should say. Not smoke, dust.
Expected. Oh, excuse me. Good Lord.
Are we keeping you up, Tristan?
Oh, you are, yeah. No,
that one caught me. That one caught me well off guard. I was gonna say not unexpected for the SPEC Miatas. They're a rambunctious bunch,
Yes.
so and you can expect to see some dust going up at the very least here. And obviously they fought hard yesterday. I mean, genuinely, it was a close game between all of them. So I expect the same thing to happen here. Well, if I remember correctly, for a while, Clement Lee had a lead, Red Messenger had a lead. I think even Evan Jacobs had a lead for a while. None of them really able to hold on to it for any significant amount of time until towards the end, Red Messenger just kind of took it over. And now here at the start, Red Messenger, he's clearly in the lead. Clement Lee is clearly ahead of him, and then Evan Jacobs is slotting into that third position. Closest behind them is Preston Lerner, but he's a full 4.5 seconds behind. So it's really Evan Jacobs at the 0.35 behind Clement Lee. That'll be the first big battle to watch. Now, the issue and what kind of tended to happen yesterday, and what we've actually seen happen in some of our other races here, is if you focus a little too much on the people in the front line, you tend to get, or your immediate opponent, you tend to get a little lost in terms of catching up to the guy who's in the lead. Interesting, by the way, in the tier 4 category, Philip Clark is quite a bit ahead of Kayla Etherington, who was the winner of tier 4 yesterday.
26 minutes to go here in our fourth race of, well, group number 4, third race of the day. After this race, we'll have a short break, and then we'll get our last 2 races in. Should be fun stuff still to come here. Don't go anywhere, folks. Still got several races to go this afternoon. Oops. I went to the wrong camera. Oops. There we go. Now we're back.
Oh, all good, all good.
There's your SPEC Miata leaders coming through right there, and then a short gap back to the bigger field. Right now, we've got Philip Clark, your top car in T4, followed by James Bishop. This is the big gaggle of cars you're going to see coming through right now. James Bishop, Broderick Dunlap, and Kayla Etherington there. Those that second group starting to string out here just a teeny bit. But you've got several classes, so that's not necessarily uncommon here. Here comes Cooper Hicks coming through here, your leader of the race. Just put down his fast lap. That is a 2:03.904, 2 minutes, 3 seconds, .904. It's a pretty good time for that SPEC MX-5 car. Now your leaders in SPEC Miata, Messenger, Jacobs, and Lee coming at us.
And Jacobs did get around Clement Lee somewhere out there on the track. That is the thing that happened. So now it is Clement Lee who's fighting back for that third place overall, second place in the SPEC Miata category slot. Preston Lerner, Dale Shoemaker, they're all kind of falling into line behind. Keeping an eye out, though, on Philip Clark in the Tier 4 category. He was well ahead of Kayla Etherington. Now Kayla has actually come up to show that she's behind him, but still about 2.6 seconds behind. So a gap there for Kayla Etherington to make up. And then Kira, or I should say Steven Kiratsus, is not far behind her either. So a little bit of a battle there in the T4 grouping as well. One person, though, who is clearing away, doing just fine here is James Bishop, number 117, the leader of the STL category, has all 3 of those T4 cars in between him and his fellow STL drivers. So he is perfectly happy to keep doing his laps as it stands right now. But there's those leaders in the SPEC Miata, I want to say, or maybe we're a little late to the party there.
Here they come right there.
Old puff of dust there in the back line, and yeah, here they come. And somebody's missing.
Well, whoever's in the lead of that group has opened up a nice little gap.
Yeah, it does look that way. Always a bit hard to tell, but yes.
We'll get the gap for certain when they come across the line the next time. So. And there is Mr. Hicks once again.
Hopefully everything will be clarified here in just a few seconds.
Yes. Clarified like butter. I don't know where that came from.
That's a yeah. I mean, yes, I don't disagree. Looks like Evan Jacobs is holding on to his lead over Clement Lee, but Red Messenger, has opened up a decent gap there. Like you said, 2.5 seconds ahead. Clement Lee 0.7 seconds behind Evan Jacobs. So the battle continues apace there amongst the leading SPEC Miatas. Meanwhile, everybody else pretty much where they ought to be. Let's see if Philip Clark has held on to his lead spot, and he has. Kayla Etherington still on the chase, but a full 3.2 seconds behind, with Steven Karatsus nipping at her heels. So a difficult situation there, I will say, for Kayla Etherington.
I don't know if anybody noticed, there was a car that just came off a pit lane and went back into the paddock. I'm pretty certain that is Broderick Dunlop, who is salmon on our screen here. And he was the last, well, now he's the last place car, but had several cars who were here yesterday who did not come out to race today, whether that being a mechanical or they were just here for one day. But got a 13-car field now down to a 12-car field here.
Right.
And that right there. That is the battle for with Jacobs and Lee that just came through our view, and I just missed Red Messenger, but he is holding station there out front, and if he can keep a 2.5 second lead, that's from everyone I've talked to who's driven SPEC Miatas, 2.5 seconds is pretty much where there's just so little draft to help you get back up. It's not completely broken the draft, but you need to really. Jacobs and Lee really got to work together to bridge that down to really get kind of any decent help there from and there they are again. That is Jacobs and Lee coming through, and then a little further back you've got Preston Lerner there.
You know, just truth be told, I don't really think that's going to happen with them either, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't think that Evan Jacobs and Clement Lee, it's just too competitive. I don't think they're going to work too closely together. Also, Evan Jacobs, I mean, he's trying to widen his gap with Clement Lee pretty consistently. So what is going to end up happening, and what we already see sort of developing here, is just all three of them sort of sitting in islands of space, basically. And the only way that that's going to shift dramatically is if somebody does something crazy or if somebody messes up.
Yep. And was playing out while you were chatting. They came through our screen, and it not even looked like I can look at the timing grid. Now there's a gap of 1.5 seconds between second and third as well. So this car right here, that is your first place car, Red Messenger and SPEC Miata. Look at the little gap there between second and third. That is Jacobs first, or that silver car, Evan Jacobs, the red car, Clement Lee. And that's gap. So now Clement Lee has to be worried that if he loses that draft to Evan Jacobs, then you've got your little islands that you were talking about there. And then they just go and drive around for 20 more minutes to figure out which trophy they're taking home.
Does kind of feel like that's what we might be building towards here with the three of them. But you never know. Things can shift. And again, I leave open the opening. Hey, somebody messes up. So that's a very real possibility that we cannot ignore.
And even though Cooper Hicks is out there by himself, he's the only car, SPEC MX-5, he's not taking it easy. Just dropped his own purple lap here right on the last lap, a 2:03.6. Really nice lap there, and he is still working hard to figure out how to get the best out of that car. There is Hicks, just talking about him there. Not quite as fast this lap, a 2:04.4. So,
unfortunately, Kayla Etherington still has Steven Karatsus making up time on her, 0.56 of a second now. She herself has 5.5 seconds behind Philip Clark. So a little frustrating there for the yesterday Tier 4 winner. Ren Messenger coming across the line, 3.5 seconds between him and Evan Jacobs. And then another second between Evan Jacobs and Clement Lee. So everybody just sort of doing their thing now in that grouping. And yeah, I mean, we did say that was the way things were going to be, and I think it looks like the way things are going to be. Now, if we're going to talk about somebody who should feel the most comfortable in that 3, probably Red Messenger. I think Evan Jacobs is in a position where Clement Lee could probably still make it into a race between the two of them, though whether or not it's a race that he would win is another thing entirely. And then we have our drivers coming across the line here. Steven Kiritsu's trying to make moves on Kayla Etherington to get that second place in the Tier 4 group. So really making her work for the position here today, that's for sure. And we might even see that shift up the next time these drivers go round.
18 minutes and 20 seconds left to go in this race. Seems like most of the drivers have found their rhythm settled in. Coming into our view right now, that is Messenger. Then a nice gap back to Evan Jacobs and Clement Lee. I'm going to try to pick off everybody as they come through our view here. Next up should be Dale Shoemaker, famous Dale. We're going to have him on the Inside the SCCA podcast over the next month or two. He told me he wouldn't tell me the story until he was on the podcast. So that's one way to get yourself on the podcast. And pretty close behind.
Mystery.
That's right. Pretty close behind Shoemaker is James Bishop, but that is not a race for class. You've got, and then you've got Preston Lerner, Philip Clark coming through, followed by Kayla Etherington, Stephen Kiritsus, Darren Murdoch. There you go. And I think this next car coming up is Jack McEachern. There's your SPEC Miata leaders now coming through and down the main straight for the 5th time. Completing lap number 5 with 17 and a half minutes to go here. Of course, this is the Cal Club SCCA races here at Buttonwillow Raceway Park, presented by Porterfield Racing Brakes. Porterfield Racing Brakes for all of your racing brake needs, as well as streetcar brakes and a bunch of other stuff that you can use at the racetrack. They've got a great catalog of things. And they offer discounts to us SCCA members. So give them a call or check them out at porterfield-brakes.com.
Yes, love to see it. Speaking of, Kayla Etherington here with Steven Kiritsus. Kayla Etherington leading Steven. Sometimes I feel almost prophetic because I was going to say, oh, Kayla Etherington comes across the line, but where's Steven Kiritsus? Sure enough, Steven Kiritsus has now dropped 2 positions back, went off, and came back on.
There you go.
So, made the mistake and paid for it, and now Kayla Etherington is not under threat anymore of being passed, so she is still in second place in the Tier 4s, and I just pulled that with me. It's a clown show for me today up here, I must admit. Oh, yes. Last race we're going to see until October of next year here at the classic Buttonwillow track, which is interesting.
That means, drum roll, please. Do I have a drum roll effect? Hold on a second.
It would be good if you did.
Hold on.
Don't tell me you've had a soundboard the entire time and we've just not been using it.
No, but how about we go with this one? Nope, that one doesn't work. Yeah. Applause. Here we go.
There you go.
We're about to open up the circuit at Buttonwillow. It's our
circuit.
It's the new racetrack here. It's been under development for a long time, and we're getting ready for our first race coming up here in January. I'll pull up the schedule a little later and tell you the exact dates, but cannot wait for that. We're going to do a lot of racing there early next year, so we won't be coming back to the classic track until October, but that is some cool stuff going on there. So it is halfway here in this race. You know what that means, Mr. Parker?
Yes, it is time for the raceschool.com mid-race recap. So here's where everything sits. In first place, number 86, Cooper Hicks. In second place, number 3, Ren Messenger. In third, number 35, Evan Jacobs. In fourth, number 87, Clement Lee. In fifth, number 117, James Bishop. In sixth, number 52, Dale Shoemaker. In seventh, number 33, Philip Clark. In eighth, number 41, Preston Lerner. In ninth, number 96, Kayla Etherington. In 10th, number 5, Darren Murdoch. In 11th, number 35, Steven Kiritsus. In 12th, number 21, Jack McEachern. And in 13th, number 77, Matteo Sidman. And then Broderick Dunlap was not able to finish the race.
And that is your raceschool.com mid-race recap. Thank you to raceschool.com. They are one of our new sponsors here for the live stream. Appreciate everything they do. If you want to go racing with the SCCA, that's one way to do it. You can get your competition licensing school from, wrong button. There we go. Get your competition racing school from raceschool.com. Also, they offer a great program, defensive driving or a safe driver's course. If you have a youngster who is starting to drive and you want to give them a best shot of being safe, I would definitely entertain going to a raceschool.com school. Check them out, raceschool.com. All right, back to the racing action.
Yes, new track opening, so that is a lot of the hype here.
So excited.
It's going to be fun, and a lot of these drivers are going to have a real challenge on their hands. We were talking about it a little bit yesterday, but it's going to take a lot of learning. Nobody's got any experience on that track, so people have got a certain way they like to drive Buttonwillow. I think it's safe to say that a lot of our drivers have gotten very comfortable on Buttonwillow Classic, and there's different passing opportunities and different turns and different configurations. And speaking of passing opportunities, there's Clement Lee drafting hard, I should say, off the back of Evan Jacobs as they come across the line. This is what I was talking about, by the way. Ren Messenger is a full 6 seconds behind or ahead of Evan Jacobs. That means that he's pretty much untouchable, barring some sort of failure on the car or big mistake. That means that Evan Jacobs and Clement Lee, they are fighting now because they know that it's going to be really hard for them to overtake Ren Messenger. So there's no working together. There's no sitting and waiting and seeing how it plays out. So the fact that I see a 0.1 of a second gap between Clement Lee and Evan Jacobs does not surprise me at all. They're probably going to lead. They might very well, let's say, leapfrog each other a couple of times here before we get to the end of this race. So that's something to keep an eye on there. And, it was a really good effort by Clement Lee down the straight. He's gone back a bit farther now as they come into the river bend, but we'll get another look at him in just a little bit here to see how that's shaping up. Meanwhile, down deeper in things, T4 race, Kayla Etherington is well and away behind Philip Clark now, with Preston Lerner, one of the the only SMT car in between the two of them.
Yep, coming up on the third of this race, or the final third of this race. Third to last race of the year here at Buttonwillow. We're all tired. It's time for a couple months off.
As you progress through the Sunday, I feel like it always gets tiring, because yesterday was a long day when you really look at it in terms of the scheduling. Then you get your, fitful night's sleep and you're back at it again the next day. So races today, though, I will say, have been remarkably calm.
Yep.
Remarkably clean compared to yesterday.
Now you have put the announcer's curse on us.
I know I'm going to put the announcer's curse on it, but I will say they have been remarkably nice today. And here again, coming down the straightaway, Evan Jacobs and Clement Lee very close to one another. You'll see it on your screen right there. Clement Lee definitely looking for the opportunity. Evan Jacobs can't really do a lot about it. Just be prepared for the move when it comes down the pipe. Otherwise, you just kind of have to accept that Clement Lee is going to be right behind you for the foreseeable future.
And here comes Ren Messenger. No issues there as long as his car holds together for the next 10 minutes. It's pretty unlikely he's going to have any issue keeping out front. Clement Lee now all over the rear bumper of Evan Jacobs as they come through there. That was the red car behind a silver car. So that's where we stand right now. That second place position is not sealed by any stretch of the imagination here. With 9 minutes and 45 seconds to go, it is still unclear who is going to have the second step on the podium here in SPEC Miata.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way that Evan Jacobs can sit comfortably for the near future in this one. I mean, yeah, like you said, 9.5 minutes to go, plenty of time still to race, so plenty of time to make moves if you're Clement Lee, or vice versa, even if you're Evan Jacobs, if Clement Lee does manage to kind of stave him off, get around him, what have you. Still plenty of time to lose that spot as well.
Yep.
I mean, I wish I could say the same for Kayla Etherington, kind of chasing that tier 4 lead, but she's just fallen farther and farther back right there. And of course, having Preston Lerner in between her and Philip Clark does not make things any easier. So Philip Clark, he is pretty much just cruising at this point in time in the T4s. And then if you want to go even deeper into list, I mean, James Bishop is the definitive leader of the STL category. Darren Murdoch is down in 10th place compared to Bishop's 5. So we know we're not going to see Darren Murdoch getting involved in the mix to take over the top of the STL category, which of course brings us back to what is undoubtedly our closest race here, and that is Evan Jacobs and Clement Lee. And Clement Lee, somewhere beyond the woods, made the pass.
He did, actually. He made the pass going into right onto the main straight there. There was a little puff of dust, and then he got around, and he is now your race, your second place car in Spec Me Out. I can't tell you, I've been out here, Tristan, now for probably 6 years doing the race calls. I cannot tell you the number of times I said either Evan Jacobs is on the back bumper of Clement Lee or Clement Lee on the back bumper of Evan Jacobs. These two guys are fighting every weekend out here, usually at the pointy end of the stick when it comes to Spec Miata. And this is an ongoing battle, and it's always fun to watch. And usually it's a respectful battle.
Yeah, usually. I mean, the Spec Miata drivers, they all know each other. We say this every time. They're all quite friendly. They go out to eat together and stuff. So we know that they all have a healthy respect for one another, but they are fiercely competitive. And, you know, I can see now just going down into the Riverbank turn, Clement Lee already having to stave off a challenge from Evan Jacobs. So there's still a lot of room for movement. With 7.5 minutes left, that's probably like 4 more laps, I would say, about for these drivers. So that's plenty of time to make moves. And Evan Jacobs is obviously incredibly talented driver, so if anybody can find opportunities, well, okay, Evan Jacobs is probably it. Clement Lee knows that, so he's gonna, you know, take precautions of his own. Meanwhile, Cooper Hicks and Ren Messenger, they're just living a
good life.
Yes. They're here in life would be a dream, just playing as they go around the track. I mean, I don't think Cooper Hicks has even probably had to worry about looking in his rearview mirror much, because there's not even been cars that are that close to him behind. Not that he's racing against anyone in particular, but I think he's just had an absolute dream day out there. And this is, you know, if you're a race car driver who does this frequently, kind of being told to just go do laps is probably a very pleasant activity, all things being what they are.
Well, you end up using this as a test session. You might put a different setup on and see how it reacts.
Very true. Very true.
And that's the joy of being able to do that. Here comes our second and third place cars. Another little puff of dust there, and it looks like that Lee has kept out in front of Evan Jacobs here again for one more lap. Coming up with 6 minutes to go here in as we wind down our last race of the year for this race group here at Buttonwillow.
Yeah, still a fight, right, between those two, but I think it's safe to say Ren Messenger's probably just going to take the overall win there for the Spec Miatas. Back down on the T4s, by the way, I want to point out Kayla Etherington has gotten around Preston Lerner, so she just has to catch up with Philip Clark now, 8th and 7th overall on the grid, but you can already see the problem right there is that Kayla Etherington is a whole 17 seconds, or was a whole 17 seconds behind Philip Clark. So the idea of her functionally catching up to and then passing Philip Clark with 5.5 minutes left is probably unrealistic, to say the least, barring unforeseen disaster. So don't think we're going to be seeing that here today.
We're going to hang tight on this camera, and we'll talk about the other cars as they come through. The next car coming into our view is going to be James Bishop. He is in the STL car. The next car behind him, that will be Dale Shoemaker, famous Dale Shoemaker.
Good old famous Dale, who has yet to reveal the origins of his name.
And then there's Philip Clark. Now we'll wait a few more seconds, and this car coming through now should be Kayla Etherington. Yep, there is Kayla in the 96 car, followed by Preston Lerner right behind. And then this will be Darren Murdoch, and then Jack McEachern, following it up with Steven Karatsousis right there. There we have it.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's basically where we sit here going into what probably will be our last 2-ish laps, maybe 3, here at the end of this race. Everybody's settled into their positions. The only thing to really watch here is, does Evan Jacobs find his way around Clement Lee in the final stretch? So no rest there for the top of the order, per se.
After this race, we'll have a short break, about a 10-minute break for our workers. And then we've got 2 more races to go after that. Our Spec Racer Ford 3, Formula F, and Formula FTS group. That's group number 5. They'll be up right after the break. And then our big bore group with Spec Corvette. And we've got an actual Corvette racing legend who is going to be on the track.
Something to look forward to.
That's my deep tease. I'm not telling you who it is, folks. You're going to have to wait. But this is a guy who's raced at Le Mans in a Corvette, raced at the Rolex 24-hour in a Corvette, Corvette factory driver. I'm putting all the teases out there.
Yeah.
If anybody's watching in the chat, you want to guess, tell me who you think it's going to be. I'll tell you who it is in about, about an hour and a half by the time we get there.
Maybe. Yeah, a little bit about that. We've got, our break and then our next race. So should be quite a thing to watch.
Yeah, but pop in the chat. Let us know who you think it might be. I'm selling it big, aren't I? Selling big.
You are selling it big, but I mean, it is an exciting. It's an exciting development.
I've interviewed this driver, and on top of all of that, of all of those credentials, all of that cred, he's a nice guy.
Love to hear it.
Yeah,
love to hear it.
1 lap to go. Next time by. Just heard it in my ear from Race Control. Cooper Hicks is just motoring on around the track. He's probably moseying at this point. So, still have a good battle, though, for second place in Spec Miata. Last time by, it was 0.2 of a second separating Clement Lee and Evan Jacobs. So
here they come through again, and we'll get another estimate of that. 0.6 of a second now.
Yep, right there, they've got so about another lap, or another 2 full laps for those 2 drivers.
Wild.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, we'll see if Evan Jacobs put a move on there at the end. I mean, if anybody's going to put a move on, it'll be Evan Jacobs. So.
Well, and those 2 drivers know each other so well. So Clement Lee is probably says, I know where he's going to try to get me. He'll do his best to defend, and that may or may not work.
Yes, of course.
And but here they come through. The red car, Clement Lee. The silver car, Evan Jacobs. About 2 car lengths separate the 2 as they come through the grapevine. We'll catch them one more time as they come through for the second to last time, going through Riverside and then up towards Phil Hill. That corner way off in the distance there, that is Riverside. That's that right-hander. Then there's a little left-hander here as they head up towards Phil Hill.
Yes.
A little legendary portion of this Buttonwillow Classic track. And
it's gonna be a challenge.
Yep, here they come. Still up front there is the red car. That's Lee. Right behind him, Evan Jacobs up through Phil Hill for the second to last time. White flag is in the air for Cooper Hicks.
Should be seeing him any second now.
Yeah, Cooper Hicks has already gone past, I think. And this should be coming into our screen right now. This should be Ren Messenger. And then there's Messenger across the line. The next 2 cars coming through will be either Lee and Jacobs or Jacobs and Lee. Where's that Ren Messenger? That could be Ren Messenger. See, I get too excited.
What do you mean?
I call the guys through too soon. Yep, here comes our 2 second place and third place cars. We'll see who is still in front. They've gotten around the slower car. Right now, it's Lee first, then Jacobs. A little bigger gap.
Yeah.
Probably because of that slower car they had to negotiate would be my guess, but hard to tell.
It's hard for me to see how Evan Jacobs gets 0.7 seconds on Clement Lee. It is.
Unless he makes a mistake.
Which is sort of the perennial question mark that hangs over everything, is if you make a mistake.
There is your leader in Spec Miata. Just came through. That is Ren Messenger all by himself. And it looks like Jacobs has made up a little bit of gap here, so he's trying to make a race of this.
Oh, he has.
So
you know what?
close, but
He's
yet so
close.
far.
He's close. Again, I will say, if anybody's going to make that move, it will be Evan Jacobs. It's just, do you have the opportunity? And even now, I watch him coming down into Riverbend. I mean, you can see the amount of speed that Evan Jacobs is putting into the car. And
closing
Clement
the
Lee
gap.
is really trying to keep ahead of him. But yeah,
Right
you said
there.
it's very close as they come down around Riverbend into the pit of the racetrack that we can't see, obviously.
Yep. Coming up at us now in just a second. You will see how close they are, really nose to tail. That first place car is Clement Lee side by side going into Phil Hill. Can he make the move? We're going to know here in about 30 seconds.
Well, Cooper Hicks should be coming across the line any second now, and he will be your official race winner. Here comes... No, that's not Cooper Hicks.
Yeah, looks like he's already through here.
Second now. Yeah, he might have already come through.
Yeah, I think he has.
So that
He's
just
so
leaves
far
us-
out front.
That leaves us with the rest.
That's right.
It's exciting. I got to be honest.
All right.
There's Ren Messenger. So where are the last two? Let's see if Evan Jacobs pulled something down there in the bit that we can't really get a good eye on.
They should be coming into our view any moment now. Here they come into our view. It's Clement Lee out front. Evan Jacobs is right behind him. Who is going to take the win? It's going to be Clement Lee. Or not the win, the second place car is going to be Clement Lee. Third place right behind him, Evan Jacobs.
All that storm and fury. Sometimes it does work out that way. Sometimes you get the bear, sometimes the bear gets you. I feel like we were like, oh yeah, watch the move. Nah, Clement Lee just didn't put a wheel out of place. He did his job.
What he was supposed to do.
What are you supposed to do? Whatever Clement Lee just did. That's what
right.
you're supposed to do.
That
But
is
anyway, raceschool.com, unofficial results here. Let's go ahead and run through the board as it stands. Your overall race winner and the winner for the SPEC Miatas X, that is Cooper Hicks, number 86. In second place, number 3, Ren Messenger. In third place, number 87, Clement Lee. In fourth place, number 35, Evan Jacobs. In fifth place, number 117, James Bishop. In sixth, number 52, Famous Dale Shoemaker. In seventh, number 33, Philip Clark. In eighth, number 96, Kayla Etherington. In ninth, number 41, Preston Lerner. In 10th, number 5, Darren Murdoch. In 11th, number 21, Jack McEachern. In 12th, number 35, Steven Karatsus. In 13th, number 77, Mateo Seidman. And then, of course, Broderick Dunlap did pass, I believe, the halfway point, but was not... Oh, no, unfortunately, he was not able to finish the race.
All right, those are your official results brought to you by raceschool.com. Coming up next, we've got our Spec Racer Fords, Formula F and Formula FTS, and a Formula V car, probably. That's next year. Stay with us. You're watching the Cal Club SCCA races here at Buttonwillow Raceway Park, presented by Porter Race Brakes. Stay with us, everybody. We'll be right back. Wrong button. Welcome back to Buttonwillow Raceway Park. I am Brian Belansky. We're here for the Cal Club SCCA races here, presented by Porterfield RacingBrakes.com. Let's get right to it. Actually, if you would hand me that pile of papers right there. There we go. Let's get right to our starting order here for race group number 5. Starting in the 5th row is going to be Jay Rosenthal. Actually, I don't think Jay is here, so it's going to be Mark Edwards in the 5th row. Your 4th row, Johnny Crean on the inside, Mike McCarthy on the outside. Now to row number 3 is Mike Moshe and Vince Balch. That would be the row 3. Now your 2nd row is going to be Kinnan Marshall and Robert Edmondson. And your front row will be Stuart Patterson and Eric Paulson. I believe there's a split start here, so they will have all of the Formula F cars up front and then split back to the Spec Racer Ford 3 cars, and then Mark Edwards, as is often the case, a little lonely in the back. Joining me for this race is the newly crowned Formula FT Cal Club champion, Ricky Simpson. How you doing?
Good, thank you, Brian.
He is here joining us. He clinched his championship yesterday. He also, congratulations on your first Formula Continental win in your first weekend, right?
Correct. This is my debut weekend.
And so you had a little bit of a mechanical issue yesterday, but were able to come back today and win the race.
Yeah, yesterday we had a broken push rod.
Okay.
And it happened around lap 3 or so. I was running 3rd. The car felt great, and I'm just glad we were able to come back from that. And I can't thank the team for putting the car back together in time and not only keeping it together, but keeping it fast as well.
All right, we're getting ready for 30 minutes of racing here. Ricky's going to be in with us for the entire race here because he is a little bit of an expert here on these Formula F cars, and he'll be our guest expert commentator for the next 30 minutes. I hope you'll enjoy what he's got to say. I'll feed him some questions. He's never been in a booth before, so this is going to be a new experience for him, but we're going to have fun with it, and I'm sure he's going to do a fantastic job here. As you can see, this is our second group here. This should be our Spec Racer Ford 3 cars coming through here and getting ready for their start of the race. So the Fords start up front in the split start. They're the quicker cars here typically, and they got a nice big gap there, and then you've got your Spec Racer Ford 3 cars there, and that little glamdring is Mark Edwards. He is easily a Cal Club legend.
Absolutely, Brian. I mean, any Cal Club race I go to, he's there. And actually, I love the Formula V class. I respect that class a bunch because of how smooth you have to be in that class with such low horsepower. And I mean, it's an awesome class. Respect to him.
Yeah, it's definitely one of our fun classes here in the SCCA, one of the oldest classes in the SCCA as well. The cars are newer now, but the class dates back to the 1960s, and that Formula V is based on the 1200cc VW Beetle motors, the original Type 1 Beetle motors, the 1200s. So we're going to see our pace car coming on a pit lane here in just a second. And then once that happens, you'll see your Formula F group. There is the pace car, and right behind them, they are coming through, waiting to see if we're going to get a green flag from the starter. And the green flag is in the air. We are racing here at Buttonwillow, 30 minutes of racing here, and those Formula Fs already getting racy going through turn 1. What we look for, Ricky, is no puffs of dust. That's how we know turn 1 happened cleanly. So, and now we're waiting to see our Spec Racer Ford 3 cars coming through here in just a minute. And now they are coming into our view. And a little further back there, you've got that Formula V car. Green flag is in the air for them as well. When you got a split start, the green flag has to come for the second group, no matter how they are lined up or not lined up. So, all right, so at the early parts of the race in Formula F cars, Ricky, are they basically trying to make sure they got enough heat in the tires, especially when it's a little chilly like today?
Absolutely, Brian. And temperature's a big thing. Like you're saying, it's a little bit chilly out. It's November. Track is cold. Tires are cold. And no race is won on the first lap. So your big thing right now is, yes, you want to keep your pace up, but at the same time, you also want to keep that car under you and heat up those brakes and tires as well.
All right, here comes the whole field here coming through. 3 cars and then another straggler a little further back. As you can tell, Ricky, sometimes it's a little hard to pick out an individual car here but we'll get the running order when they come across the line for the first time. We'll hold here until we get our Spec Racer Fords come through our view here. They should be coming in at any time. And there you see them out there heading into Riverside, and then out of Riverside, then they'll come right up towards us here. There they go. One of the Spec Racer Fords opened up a little bit of lead here. Typically, they try to keep gap together as much as possible. Here comes our Formula F cars across the line for the first time. Looks like Stuart Patterson is our race leader, followed by Steven Simpson. Any relation?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Who is Steven? Is that your uncle?
That's actually my younger brother.
That's your younger brother. Okay, how old is he?
He's 15.
Okay, he's 15 already, trying to hang there with the old guys, Stuart Patterson, Eric Paulson, Johnny Crean up there. And so this is his first year racing?
Correct.
First year racing cars.
Yeah, this is his first year racing any car, Formula cars, and he actually came from mini sprints on the dirt too, so he has very little pavement experience, but he's been doing great this year.
Yeah, what was your path into this? Did you go through mini sprints or did you go through karting?
I actually did mini sprints as well.
Okay.
A couple kart races, and I got my Formula car license with Vara at the age of 13.
All right.
And at the age of 15, I found myself racing with SCCA in the Formula Ford the Series group.
Very cool. Very cool. So up front in Formula F, you've got Patterson, Simpson, Polson, and Crane. And then coming to our Spec Racer Ford cars, Robert Edmondson, your lead car after the first lap. Jay Rosenthal, Mike Moshe, and Vince Balch. That's your top four in Spec Racer Ford right now as they stand here with 26 minutes to go here. So you come from a racing family here. I believe it is your uncle, though, that races as well, right? Or was it your dad?
It was my uncle.
Okay. And did he kind of get you guys hooked on this early?
He did. So I actually started driving sprint cars at the age of 5,
Okay.
and Stevie started driving at the age of 7, I believe. So we started off very young in our local dirt track. We won some championships and some wins. And honestly, Brian, that's what you need to get you hyped up. Once you taste success, you just want more of it. And eventually, I decided to start racing Formula cars. We had this old Formula Ford sitting in our garage. I said, "Hey, Dad, I know you used to race these things. What do you think it would take for me to race?" And he said, "Well, you're too young. You're only 13." And I said, "Well, I'll tell you what. I'll look around. I'll see what I could do." And I contacted a very nice lady at Vara, and she said that in a Formula car, I could actually be the age of 13. And so I told my dad that. And we put a car together inside the garage and make sure it ran good.
Yep.
And we went to the Vara school in 2021, and I got my license.
Very cool. Very cool. Coming up on 25 minutes to go here as things start to kind of settle into their pattern here. We've got our Spec Racer Ford cars coming by, and Robert Edmondson has already opened up a 2-second lead over Jay Rosenthal, then 2.5 seconds back to Mike Moshe, and 2.4 seconds back to Vince Balch. So kind of uncommon for Spec Racer Ford 3. These are cars that love to draft together, and the draft is significantly important to their success in this class. And once the draft gets broken, it's kind of lights out. So draft also important in Formula F, and that's why Patterson, Simpson, and Polson are doing their best to stay together. Your little brother just dropped the fastest lap of the race, a 1:53.699. That's a pretty good lap around here.
Absolutely. That's a very respectable lap. Out of him.
Out of anybody. Oh, out of him. There's a little brotherly love there. That's a pretty respectable lap for him. Good stuff here. And he's trying to hunt down Stuart Patterson and stay in touch. And he's 1/10 of a second back. So there was a big amount of battling going on right there in that Formula F group. Did I miss them on the front straight? I get all talk. I have to press the buttons and talk. So sometimes I get all, here they come out of the last straight here and coming across the line. And it is still Patterson, Simpson, and Polson. But this time Polson puts down the fast lap with a 1:53.3. That's 0.3 of a second faster than Simpson's fast lap. But they're all still trying to catch Stuart Patterson here.
Something I just want to dip into, Brian, is the draft you're talking about in the Spec Racers. That was something I actually had to learn in the Formula Continental class. The drafting now with the wings is huge.
Yeah.
And In Formula F, yes, there's a draft, but very little, which is why you have to stay so close together to the car in front of you. In Formula Continental, you can really set a guy up now with wings. It creates such a big hole in the air. It's a little nice, I must say, and it was something that I had to learn this weekend.
Yep. Big power difference between those two cars too, right?
Absolutely. It's a huge power difference, a lot of torque in the car, but it was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and to get your first win on your first race weekend in any car, that's pretty awesome.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Here comes those Formula Fords right there. One more time up the hill towards Phil Hill. Now they've got about 3 or 4 car lengths lead between each of them. Really critical that they stay close together, isn't it?
Absolutely. The draft is important, and pressuring one another as well, hoping to pressure another driver into making a mistake. However, in this case, with the top 3 cars being so close together, it's that maybe the car in front might want to pressure the car behind and absolutely lay down some fast laps. But at the same time, the car behind doesn't want to make a mistake, and they want to keep up with the leader as well. So there's a lot of stress going on with such a tight battle like this.
What's the fall off on the tires from the start? Like, you've got a 30-minute race here, assuming that you're on pretty decent tires. Do you get the same kind of grip throughout the whole event, or does it, along a 30-minute race do the tires start to fall off?
Well, Brian, I'd say at about lap 6 or so, lap 7, you could start to feel the tires fall off, and if you have some adjustments in your car, such as brake bias or a torsion bar, you could actually adjust that inside your car. And so whenever I drive Formula Fords, I'll actually make about 3 to 4 adjustments a race on my rear torsion bar.
Okay. And you're making them all kind of the same time, or are you making a little adjustment every few laps?
I'm making a little adjustment every few laps to what I feel is best. Typically, I don't expect the car to be as fast as it was at the start of the race when tires are optimal, but at least to keep my pace up and consistent as well to hang up with that front group.
We're going to pick up the Spec Racer Ford group here. But 3 laps ago, Steven Simpson put down the fast lap in Formula F. 2 laps ago, Eric Poulsen put down the fast lap in Formula F. This time, Stuart Patterson decides to put down his fast lap, a 1:53.3, which is 3:16. The fast lap for Poulsen was a 1:53.373. So just a couple hundredths of a second separate the fast lap between those two drivers. That's so close together. Going to give the the Spec Racer Ford 3 drivers here a little love here as they come through this time by here. The set of corners we're looking at, that's called Cotton Corners, coming through right now. That is Robert Edmondson, and then the car right behind him is Jay Rosenthal. That's the red and black car, and then a little further back, you've got Mike Moshe, and then 2 more cars coming through, Mike McCarthy and Vince Balch. That is pretty much your entire Spec Racer Ford. That is your entire Spec Racer Ford field there. And somewhere along the lines, if I can find him out there, we'll give a tiny bit of love to Mark Edwards here as well. I know he'll be coming through eventually. 3 very different car classes in this group, and they're often put together for races like this. They kind of make their speed in different places. Obviously, the Formula Fs are much better handling cars than the Spec Racer Fords, but Spec Racer Fords actually have more power, but they just don't handle as well.
Correct, Brian. I think they have a little bit bigger of a bore for their motor, so you're right. They do have a little bit more power, but a Formula Ford is just so nimble that it's able to keep a little bit of a quicker time around the track.
There you go. There's your leaders in Formula F, and I'm still waiting for Mark Edwards to come by. Want to make sure. Oh, here he comes. He'll be coming into our screen here in just a second. There's that yellow car coming at us right now, and then we'll go back to picking up our Formula Ford battle. There is Mark Edwards in that yellow number 74 Glamdring. Let's go find our Formula F cars. They should be coming into our view right now. Looks like Stuart Patterson's opened up a little bit of a lead, Ricky.
Absolutely, yeah. He has a good lead going on. I've known Stuart for about the last 2 years now. Great guy. And he's one heck of a driver too. He's a great guy, really fast driver. And yeah, you're right. He has opened up a little bit of a gap there, and it looks like the battle might be between Stevie and Eric now. Yesterday, I had a great battle with Eric when I was driving in the Formula Ford class yesterday, and man, he put up a nice battle. It was a lot of fun.
We will catch them coming across the line here again, coming up on the halfway point. 2 races left to go here. Coming up next is a fun race for sure. It's going to be our big bore, and part of our big bore group this weekend is a huge 10 or 12 car spec Corvette field. And we have an absolute racing legend with us this weekend, coming in to fill in for a sick driver. He was here coaching, a former Corvette factory driver with races at Le Mans and racing at the Rolex 24. A great guy. I've interviewed him before. I'm not telling you who it is. This is my deep tease, Ricky. I want people to stick around and find out. If you know who it is, put his name in the chat. But it really narrows it down when I say former factory Corvette driver. There's only a handful of those out there. But it'll be fun to talk to him, or to talk about him, actually. And I think because he didn't qualify, he's got to start from the back of the field, which means he's got to drive in through everybody. Probably put on a bit of a masterclass. That will be fun to watch. Stuart Patterson, still our race leader, just dropped another fast lap, going purple for the 27 car, a 1:53.130. Stevie Simpson still in second. Eric Poulsen's in third. Now the gap between first and second in Formula F is 1.6 seconds, and then 0.9 of a second back to Eric Poulsen in third place. So Poulsen's really still kind of sticking there, and if Patterson can draw this gap out a little bit more, it's just going to be a race for second place.
It is, Brian. Right now, Stuart's doing amazing. Like you said, a 1:53.1. Whew, that is a fast lap there. Almost 0.2 quicker than Stevie's best lap there. But you're right. Hopefully we have a good battle here between Stevie and Eric.
Absolutely. Getting ready in January to go to the circuit, the new track here. Are you looking forward to that?
I am, Brian. I am super excited to see what that new track is about. And some fresh pavement actually allows some new challenges. No rubber is packed into the track yet, so it allows maybe some new track records to be placed, a lot of setup changes throughout the whole weekend, and drivers trying to find, maybe their way around the track.
Well, the cool part about a new racetrack is every class will set a track record that first race weekend, every single one of them. So that will be fun to see who masters the track first. Have you got a chance to go take a slow lap in your street car over the weekend?
Unfortunately, no, I haven't.
Okay.
But just from doing some track walks around the older track here, it looks really cool.
Yeah. That's going to be fun. We're going to be out there. Our first 2 races, January and February. First is our SCCA Cal Club race, and then the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour will be here in in February, and that will be a ton of fun. Looking forward to having the Super Tour here on the brand new circuit at Buttonwillow. It is coming up on halfway, so let me do this. It's time for our full field halfway point rundown. Let me get all the buttons pressed because, of course, like I said, I am pressing the buttons by myself this weekend and trying to talk, as anybody would know who knows me, talking and pressing buttons at the same time. Not always my best skill here. So let us get that going here, and we will give you that full-face rundown. Brought to you by raceschool.com. And here is how it stands right now. Where did it go? Here it is. Our leader right now, Stuart Patterson over Stevie Simpson. The gap 0.7 of a second. Actually looks like Simpson and Poulsen pulling it together, pulling a little bit closer to Stuart Poulsen on that lap. Stevie Simpson just dropped another fast lap, dipping into a 1:52s, a 1:52.5. What a great lap there. Eric Poulsen's in third place, followed by Johnny Crane in the FFTS car. Now we get to our Spec Racer 4-3 cars. Robert Edmondson is in first, followed by Jay Rosenthal, Mike Moshe, and then you've got Vince Balch and Mike McCarthy. Balch has gotten around McCarthy for that would be fourth place in Spec Racer 4-3. And then in 10th place, we have Mark Edwards. That is our full field rundown here, presented by raceschool.com. Coming back to our racing action now. At this point in the race, Ricky, half a race to go. With the battle as close as it is, there's really no time to kind of take a breather here, right?
No, Brian, there's no time for breathers. And right about now is when those tires really start to fall off. You want to start making some adjustments here. And it looks like Stevie might have actually been able to catch up to Stewart, catch his draft, and we might have another battle for the lead here, Brian.
It is going to be interesting now with 14 minutes to go. It is tightened up, and Eric Poulsen's fallen back a little bit, but he's still within striking distance as well. But right now, it was a battle for second place. Now it's a battle for first place. They'll be coming into our view right now. It looks like Patterson's a little faster down that back straight. He's able to make up some space there, or make up a little bit of a gap. And then Simpson's right there, falling back a little bit from where we saw him last time by. But there's still a lot of racing left to go. So what are you thinking about in this situation? Are you trying to figure out, do I stay here for the next 5 or 6 minutes or 10 minutes, and then with 2 or 3 laps to go, where am I going to go make the move? Or are you just trying to get around and drive away? What's your play here if you were in the car?
So, Brian, there is actually a lot of strategy going through a driver's mind like that. And in this case scenario, something that I would be doing is, well, obviously Stewart has been really quick all session, and Stevie's tailing right behind him. Right now they have a great battle going on with just those 2 drivers for the lead here. Instead of passing him right now and pulling away, I would just be waiting for maybe the next couple of laps, keep on pressuring him and wearing down the car ahead, and hopefully, making a move within the next few laps here.
So right now we have the veteran. I was going to call him a surly veteran, but that's probably overstating it. The veteran Stuart Patterson, been around a long time, lots of laps at Buttonwillow. Then you've got Stevie Simpson, the relative rookie. Is this his? How many races does he have here?
This is Stevie's second race at Buttonwillow.
Second weekend or second race? Was yesterday?
Second weekend.
Second weekend.
Second
Okay,
weekend.
so probably his 4th race here, if he got through the first weekend pretty safely. And there they are. Let me go back here. We were talking too much. They're coming into our view right now, or soon anyway. Hold on a second. All right, here they are. The first car there is Patterson. Second car is Simpson. And look at how far back Eric Poulsen has dropped. He is pretty much out of the discussion now, isn't he?
Yes, he is. It'll be a great battle for the lead, though. I will tell you that much, Brian. Like I said, Stewart had a great lead at the start there, but it's cool that Stevie was able to catch up, and maybe for these last couple of laps here, we will be seeing some passes, hopefully, and a good battle.
All right. We still have a good bit to go here.
And Stevie and Stewart were just drag racing down the front straightaway there. I was wondering who would get that in a turn 1. We'll have to see when we come around to the cotton corners, but woo, that was a good run there. Good run.
And we will see them coming into our view here in just a second. Here they come into cotton corners. Another little 2 or 3 car length, well, not even that. Maybe a 1 car length gap between Patterson and Simpson. Stuart Patterson's got a big, deep toolbox to pull from. Stevie's got kind of like a tool pouch, trying to figure out how to get around. Not a lot of experience in these cars, trying to learn as he goes here. But we'll find out if the big toolbox wins over the tool pouch here as we come into our final 10 minutes. Last third of this race, 10 minutes left in the season here at Buttonwillow for these cars. 1 more race to go after that. This Formula Ford battle is not, there they are right there, is still not settled. The 3rd place is actually, I think, pretty well done in this thing. But now Poulsen also in 3rd place overall, but he's in a group by himself in that Formula F car. And then you've got the FFTS. Here's something you can help us with. Explain to us what FFTS is.
So FFTS stands for Formula Ford the Series. And what Formula Ford the Series is, it's a group that goes between NorCal and SoCal region. So our championship consists of 8 races. 4 of those ones being NorCal, 4 being SoCal. So we've gone to Thunder Hill, Laguna Seca twice, and Sonoma as well. And I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were just at Willow Springs for a Cal Club event, and the other 3 races were held here at Buttonwillow.
And is the rule set any different between FFTS and Formula F? Is there a SPEC tire or something? What is any of that involved?
So there are some different rules. We try to follow by some of the SCCA rules, and we try to put that into the formula for the series rules. However, they did open up a little bit. They call it a semi-open tire rule. So instead of having to run the spec radial tire, we run a bias ply. Still a Hoosier, still the same compound of a R60A, but the rears, they are cantilevers, so they're a little bit wider, and they're the bias ply tire. And something else. Oh, and that was a pass there for the lead.
Yep. We had the leaders, Stuart Patterson and Stevie Simpson, came up behind a slower car, and I'm not sure if that played into it, but right now we've got Stevie Simpson in the lead. Let's go and check out when they come through Uphill Hill to see if that is still the case. But whatever the causality was, I keep getting you and your brother mixed up. Stevie Simpson now the leader here. Let's see if he is still the leader when they come up the hill towards Phil Hill.
No, Stewart
got back around.
Wow.
2 passes on the same lap. You got to think that maybe that slower car played a part in all of that.
Absolutely, Brian. In a Formula Ford, like we were talking about earlier, they are a little bit quicker than the spec racers, so lap traffic does start to play a role in these Formula Ford races.
And I'm wondering also because I've driven a lot of Spec Racer Ford when it was not a Spec Racer Ford a long time ago. I won't talk about it. But the view out of the back of those cars is not very good. And with the Formula Fords being so much lower to the ground, it's hard to see the smaller cars when you're driving the Spec Racer Ford. So it's possible that driver didn't even know the leaders were coming through at that point and maybe didn't even realize it, and that might have been part of it.
Absolutely, Brian. That is something that they actually talk to drivers throughout the racing school is that, hey, in close cars or maybe a little bit not as low cars as a Formula car, they aren't going to see you behind, or they aren't going to be able to see behind. So, make sure to pass safely. And they really go into maybe no dive bombs on those drivers since they can't see, and always looking for a wave by as well.
The Cal Club SCCA races here at Buttonwillow brought to you by Porterfield Racing Brakes. It's porterfield-brakes.com. Here comes our leaders right now. There is Patterson, Stevie Simpson still trying to keep in this race. And then a little further back, that white car is your third-place car of Eric Polson.
Stewart starting to pull a little bit of a gap to Stevie there, I just saw. This should make out to be a good battle here within these last few laps. I'm thinking we might have 2 or 3 laps left. Yeah, Brian?
Yeah, I think, at least 3 laps. At least 3 laps, maybe even 4, because the cars are circulating at about 1:52, and there's 6 minutes left on the clock. Of course, that is unofficial time. That is Brian's clock, depending on when I press the button, and I try to press the button at the same time, but you just get lucky with it sometimes. But anyway, so that's unofficial race time, but it's really close. So we probably going to get 3 more laps once they come by the next time is my guess. Haven't talked much about Spec Racer Ford 3 because the gap there between first and second last time by was 9 seconds. We'll see this time by. Right now it's Robert Edmondson in first, and how far back is Jay Rosenthal now? 11.6 seconds. So no real battle for the lead. And then the gap back to third place, also not a battle. Oh, that's actually Johnny Crean in third place. So it's even further back to the third place car in Spec Racer Ford 3. So that's kind of why we're not giving them much love here, because the real battle that we're watching is here up front. And there they are coming across. We just missed Stuart Patterson, but we caught Stevie Simpson there. Stuart Patterson just put in another good lap here, and he's got what looked to me like a 3 or 4 car length lead last time by here.
Just want to emphasize real quick on Robert Edmondson.
Yeah.
He is really putting down some good laps here. His personal best, a 1:57.2. And that's cool that he's able. We were just talking about the gap there, about how it went from a 9-second gap to an 11-second gap within 1 lap or so. And Robert Edmondson really putting down some speed here to pull away from Jay Rosenthal.
That is a very good observation there as they come through now with 4.5 minutes to go here in this final race of the year for these cars here at Buttonwillow. Up front, we've got Patterson, Simpson, Polson. Those are from the Ford cars, Formula F cars. Are they all Fords, or do we have any Hondas here this weekend? Do you know?
I believe Eric Polson actually has a Honda inside of his car, and he is Also, the only Formula car out there with a Piper in it.
Nice. Okay. So that's their top Formula F cars. That's why we don't call them Formula Fords anymore, and it screws me up all the time because I'm old. Hard for me to get used to that. So, but those are your top 3 in Formula F. And then you've got Robert Edmondson, Jay Rosenthal, Mike Moshe, Vince Balch, and Mike McCarthy, your top 5 in Spec Racer 4-3. Mark Edwards doing what Mark Edwards does, got to halfway and pulled it in because he doesn't have any other Formula Vs in this race. He will come home your Formula V race winner here. But when he drops out early to save tires and save time on the motor, so that is a typical operation for Mark here. So. Coming up on 3 to go. Did I just hear them say next time by halfway? No, we still got another half a lap to go here. Although I do see Tom Jones, our starter, with the white flag at the ready. So he's probably looking for the next time by. Where are our leaders? Oh, where are our leaders? Right in front of us. Oh, Stevie had a little problem there. Got caught up in some lap traffic. He's going to end up really losing a lot of time here. That's unfortunate, isn't it?
Yes, it is, Brian. And something that I want to talk about real quick is how Stuart Patterson just put down his personal best of a 152.6. That's something you don't see very often. And the reason why is because as the session goes on, we just talked about how about lap 6 or so, that's when the tires become optimal, and then you start making some in-car adjustments. Another thing is how the tires start to get really oily and greasy towards the end of the session here, and it's hard for a driver to start putting down some fast laps. So very impressive from Stuart Patterson being able to put down his fastest lap.
Last time by, it was a 1.6 second gap between first and second. I'm going to guess that we might be up to about 3 seconds now when they come by this time. We will keep an eye on that here. A minute and a half to go. This time by, the leaders are going to get the white flag. It is in the air as your leaders come out. Yeah, it's going to be probably 2.5 seconds is my guess. Let's wait till they cross the line here. 2.03 seconds now between Stuart Patterson and Stevie Simpson. That's going to be a tough gap to get in this last lap, isn't it?
It is, Brian. The only thing you could hope for right about now is hopefully a lap car would play a role in this battle here. But I'm actually not seeing any lap cars in front of him, so this might be how it finishes.
We'll see them coming into our view. That car right there is your race leader, Stuart Patterson. That's the red car. The silver car coming through next. Is it silver? I think it's silver, right?
It is silver.
Okay, the silver car that just came through. That is Stevie Simpson. And then you've got your third place car. It is the white car here who's now having to negotiate that same lap traffic. That is Eric Polson. There's your top 3 here. We are on our final lap here in this race at Buttonwillow Raceway Park. White flag is in the air. Oh, there's Patterson right there, and that gap's even wider now. You said there's not much of a draft there, but it does look like the little bit of draft that's not there anymore is really helping Stuart Patterson out.
Yes, it is, Brian.
All right, next time by, checkered flag's going to be in the air as we wrap this one up here. Don't go away, though. This Spec Corvette race coming up next is going to be a doozy, so stay with us. That'll be coming up right after this one. There's Robert Edmondson crossing the line right now, almost a full lap behind the Formula F leaders. He is your race leader in Spec Racer 4-3. Checkered flag is in the air. Here comes your leaders. Oh, it looks like Stevie's been able to catch up just a little bit, but not enough. Oh, no, that was a different car. But that is your race winner. Where's Stevie?
Here he comes, Brian.
Okay.
Yep, I see him.
Oh, and he just got across the line before Eric Polson. I wonder if he had a little bit of a moment out there somewhere.
I think so, Brian.
Because I didn't see any smoke or anything, so I don't think it's a mechanical. I just wonder if he had just kind of a little loose moment and he had to lift, and that gave Eric Polson just enough. And a lot of momentum needed in these cars. Once you lose your momentum, it's hard to catch back up with it, right?
Absolutely, and especially at a track like Buttonwillow. I mean, with a lot of straightaways here, you have to keep your momentum up. It is a very tough one, and I believe that's a sweep of the weekend for Stuart Patterson, right? And I think
Yep,
he
it
also
is.
got pole yesterday and today. So congrats to Stuart again, longtime friend. Just good job to him.
All right, let's do our full field rundown here at the end of this race. Of course, these are unofficial race results. They won't go official for another hour or so, just in case anybody wants to protest. But right now, your race winner in FFTS, Stuart Patterson. Second place is Stevie Simpson. Your third place car in FFTS is Johnny Crean. Your first place car in Formula F is Eric Polson. Then you've got your top cars in Spec Race for 4-3. Robert Edmondson, the winner. Jay Rosenthal, second. Mike Moshe ends up third. Fourth place, Vince Balch and Mike McCarthy is in fifth. And then finally, your winner in Formula V is Mark Edwards. Ricky Simpson's been with us for the entire race. Thank you, sir. Did a great job for your first time behind the microphone.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for having me up here.
All right. Ricky, of course, just wrapped up the Formula Ford, the Series Championship yesterday. That's why he was able to come up here and spend time with us today, because he didn't have to race to get that championship. Also, got his first win ever in his second race ever in Formula Continental. Great weekend for you.
Absolutely, Brian. I really appreciate that.
All right. You got some sponsors you want to thank before I let you go?
I do. I like to thank Bertronics Ignitions, Jayco Industries, Absolute Roofing, and I'd also like to thank Witten Racing as well. Without them, this weekend couldn't have been possible. We had a lot of ups and downs. Like I said, it was my first time in the car, so there's a lot to learn. And I mean, the pace was there, so I'm glad we were able to have a fast car. And I can't thank the team enough for putting the car together for me and keeping it fast. Yesterday, we had a broken push rod problem, and on Friday, I accidentally put it in the wall. So I can't thank the team enough for. I mean, they really came together, put the car together, and really uplifted me to keep up my spirits. And without their support and their love, I couldn't have been able to bring back this win in Formula Continental today.
There you go. All right, Ricky Simpson, thanks for the insight here. Appreciate it. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, of course, we've got this big bore race, Spec Corvettes, GT2, GT3. It's going to be a doozy, and there's a big announcement coming up. About 2 minutes away from finding out who this legendary driver is with us this weekend. We'll be right back. We're back here at Buttonwillow Raceway Park for the SCCA Cal Club races, brought to you by Porterfield Racing Brakes. Our starting order for our final race of the day here, brought to you by RaceSchool.com. And this is going to be a doozy, folks. We have got a great group here. Coming up and starting in the 9th row, we've got Chris Kroll in a T3 car. That is a Porsche Boxster. In row number 8, we've got Blaine Bridges on the inside in the ITE09 car. Next to him, Wayne Graham in the GT2 number 96 car. Moving on to row number 7 on the outside, Chris Qualls. That is a GT3 Mazda RX-7. Next to him on the actually on the inside of row number 7 is Jeff Herbert. Now moving on to row 6 on the inside, Jay Cochran in. Now the next bunch of rows are going to be spec Corvette cars. On the inside of row, where am I at here? Anyway, Jeff Herbert is on the inside of row number 7 in a spec Corvette. Then you've got row number 6 on the inside, Jay Cochran. Next to him is Luis Martinez. In row number 5 on the inside is Johnny York. And next to him, Patrick Howe in the number 44 car. Row number 4 on the inside, Greg Nestor. And next to him is John Simon. Also still spec Corvettes here. Row number 3 on the inside of is Ole Thornton is the car in the 122, but he is not feeling well today, and he found an okay driver to fill in for him. Johnny O'Connell, I'm being sarcastic when I say the okay car driving, filling in for him. Johnny O'Connell, factory Corvette driver for years, raced at Le Mans, raced in the Rolex 24, maybe one of the best drivers ever to drive a Corvette. He is going to be filling in the 122 car here for this race. AP Miranda is on the inside of row number 2, and next to him is Alex Chang. Outside of row number 1, Gina Koptoff, and Ben Valentine is your pole sitter in the GT2 car. That is a Dodge Challenger. That's how they're going to start here for our final race of the weekend, final race of the year here at Buttonwillow. It's going to be a doozy, and we are looking forward to it, folks. Let's see what we've got going on here. Looks like our cars have already come through this section, the Phil Hill section. Up next is going to be, pace car is on pit lane. There is our first car coming into view. That is the GT2 car of Ben Valentine. And then a whole slew of Corvettes coming by, all heading down to the first corner for the first time. Let's see if they get through cleanly. Looking for a puff of dust. That would be a sign that maybe they didn't, but all looks clean at this point in time. Then comes our second split start. They are coming through and past the line right now to start their race. And they are coming through here cleanly as well. Great first corner here at Buttonwillow as we start our 30-minute race. And, of course, I've started my clock a little late, so we're going to figure that up here in just a second as well. Here comes our second pack now through the through Cotton Quarters, entering the Grapevine. We're going to see our first pack. Here comes our GT2 car. That is Ben Valentine out front. And then this big group of, I think, about 12 or 13 spec Corvettes as they come through for the first time at speed, entering Phil Hill. And the cool part here with Johnny O'Connell not having any time in the car, not being able to qualify, he's going to start at the back of the pack of these spec Corvettes. So we're going to see him drive through. And can the Master come into this class and drive right to the front? We're going to wait and see. All of these Corvettes, spec Corvettes, so they're essentially the same design, same build. And some really well-prepped cars here as well. Here comes into our view right now Ben Valentine. Then the Corvettes will come. We'll see after the first lap where everybody sorts out. Gina Koptoff is up front, followed by AP Miranda, Alex Chang, David Holmes, John Simon, Greg Nestor, Donnie York, Jay Cochran, Patrick Howe, Luis Martinez. Johnny O'Connell is now in 12th place overall, and Jeff Herbert is in 13th. And then here comes our second group of cars into our view right now. Let's go see where they are in this group. The second group coming across the line, Chris Qualls, Blaine Bridges, Wayne Graham, and Ollie Thorson. Oops. There is our second group here as well. Someone went way off there. That is one of the Corvettes. I don't know which one. We will know when they come back into our view, but he went way off there at the exit or right in the middle of Cotton Corners. Now he's waiting for the entire field to drive past. That is an awfully lonely feeling there. Now that he's going to get the clear to go, now whether or not that car is able to move, but right now he is stuck there. We'll check back in on him in a moment. Here comes your Corvettes now up towards Phil Hill again. Not sure if they'll be able to leave that car there. Waiting to see if it's moving. I can see out the window that it is still in that location, but it does look like it's starting to move. Let me check back here. Oh, it's trying to maybe get itself into a safer position because it can't go anymore. Nice job there. If they can leave it there, that would be fantastic. Let's go check in. They should be coming onto the front straight here in just a moment. Here comes our race leader into our view, Ben Valentine. Little bit of breakup on that camera. Sorry. Now they're sending out a track truck probably to go check on that driver out there and see if they maybe can do something about that. So that's the track truck coming down as the Corvettes come through. Still Coptic, Holmes, Simon, Nestor. Johnny O'Connell now up to 11th place overall. Seeing if we can watch him drive through the field here a little bit, or maybe not. We will see. That was Valentine right there. Now our next spec Corvette. Look at the gap that first place car of Gina Koptov has. Big, big gap. It was 6.5 seconds at the line back to David Holmes and John Simon. All those cars are hoping for a full course yellow here. Don't think they're going to get it. They'll probably put the track out there just to put a little bit of a buffer zone between the cars and that yellow Corvette. That yellow Corvette, by the way, it looks like now that they've all crossed the line, that yellow Corvette is AP Miranda. That should be the number 171 car. Well, let me see if I can also get a clock going here, folks. I am the guy talking and pressing buttons here, so I apologize for all of that, but we're going to get it going here. We're going to be coming up on 24 minutes to go in this race. All right, 24 minutes left to go here. It's the tail end of our Corvette group here coming across the line. Then that second group of cars as well. Chris Qualls, Jeff Herbert. Chris Qualls actually in the GT3 cars gotten around Jeff Herbert, your second, your little lower down spec Corvette car. Johnny O'Connell, as I said, we're watching him trying to march his way through the field here. Probably the first time driving a spec Corvette, maybe not. He was here coaching this weekend, some of the Corvette drivers, and got sprung into duty. You know, when you race car driver who's not driving at the racetrack always brings his gear. So Johnny O'Connell, they said, hey, Johnny, you want to get in a race car? I guarantee you the answer was a very fast yes. So he is here this weekend. Yep, and there is that track truck there checking on that driver. Now the gap between first and second place, 7.9 seconds in Spec Corvette. Has a big, big lead. There's your race leader, Ben Valentine, coming across the line here. Then the 172 car of Gina Koptoff comes across the line next, followed by David Holmes. Right, 6.3 seconds, so the gap isn't changing much, but Koptoff's got a nice lead here. John Simon, then Nestor York, Patrick Howe, Jay Cochran, Alex Chang. Now coming across the line, Johnny Connell, Chris Qualls, Louis Martinez, looks like they're going to leave that car there with a track truck there protecting the car. When I say protecting, if anybody slides off now, they're going to hit the track truck before they hit the race car. It's a much more substantial barrier in that big old track truck. So they'll leave that there probably till the end of the race. Last race of the day. We do have a track event group after this, but this is our last wheel-to-wheel race of the day here. Last wheel-to-wheel race of the weekend. Last wheel-to-wheel race of 2024 here at Buttonwillow for the SCCA. When we come back, we're going to go to the circuit, our brand new racetrack, just a little up yonder. Same facility, same property, but outside of the west side of our current racetrack, they built a brand new racetrack. It's called the Circuit. Cannot wait to get out there. It's been years in the making, and we are going to have a great time out there. First race in January, second race in February, the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour. So that is what they are doing there. All right, so we're hearing that that car went off, hit another car that had gone off. So that would be the 171 car, the AP Miranda car, and that car has a broken front suspension, so that's why it is was not able to rejoin the action here. So that car will get brought in on the hook there at the end of this race. $19 minutes left to go in the race season here at Buttonwillow. Always a little melancholy for that last race of the year, but it's Southern California. We don't wait long to go back. We'll be back in January, end of January here. I'm going to pull up the schedule so I don't get it wrong. Where am I going here? You know what? I think. Oh, we still have the 2024 calendar up here. Hold on. I got another way to get this. There is more than one way to do this, folks. Oh, they're actually getting that car out of that location. Nice break in traffic. And they will pull them to the other part of the infield here, which is really safe where they're going to take him. A much better position. So that is a smart move there. And, of course, we're able to get a nice little break there to do that, so that's fantastic. Pulling up the schedule for next year, that's the 2024 schedule. I know the 25 schedule here is somewhere. Oh, it's not. Okay. Anyway, we're going to be back here end of January for the opening of the circuit, and then right after that is a Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour, and that will be coming here in February. And then the first half of the season we're going to do here at the new track, the circuit, with a stop also at in May at Willow Springs, end of May, early June at Willow Springs. Then back out here at the classic track in October. So that's how it's going to play out here for 2025. It's very exciting times here. Not only is this going to be the new circuit, it's also the 75th anniversary of Cal Club. That's also going to be a big celebration throughout the year. Stuff all year long to commemorate that. So it'll be a whole lot of fun here in 2025. 75 years of Cal Club and a brand new racetrack at Buttonwillow. Cannot wait for that, and that will be fantastic. And I have lost our race leaders. I will pick them up here in just a second here. Johnny O'Connell, I've been following him now. He's the guy I was telling about earlier. Former factory Corvette driver, Le Mans, Daytona. Anyway, lots of race wins in a Corvette. He has now worked his way up to 9th place in this spec Corvette. My suspicion is this is his first time racing one of these cars. Don't know for certain. Interviewed Johnny a bunch of times. Not only is he a fantastic, maybe one of the best to ever drive a Corvette, also a really nice guy. Really good guy. So, all right, here comes your Corvette leader right into our view right here. This is Gina Koptoff coming across the line. Big gap back to John Simon. He'll be the next car we see coming across the line. That gap now 15 seconds between first and second place in spec Corvette. Then Greg Nestor, then David Holmes probably, waiting for them all to cross the line. Here we go. Actually, it ends up being Chang, York, now Johnny O'Connell in 7th. So there's that battle. After Alex Chang, it's boom, boom, boom with York, O'Connell, and Holmes. Pretty tight battle there in spec Corvette for that mid-pack action at the moment. We are coming up on the halfway point. You know what that means? When we come up and halfway, it is time to do our mid-race recap. That mid-race recap, of course, is brought to us by the good people at raceschool.com. Right now, as it stands, your leader in GT2, Ben Valentine, he's got a huge lead over the second-place car, but the second-place car is a spec Corvette, not in the same class. So Ben Valentine is first. Then you've got Gina Koptoff, followed by John Simon, Greg Nestor, Alex Chang, Donnie York, Johnny O'Connell, and David Holmes. So that would be 1, 2, 3. That's the top 6 in spec Corvette. 7th place, top 7th in spec Corvette. Then you've got Chris Qualls in the GT3 Mazda RX-7 in 9th, followed by a couple more Corvettes, Johnny Cochran, Patrick Howe, Jeff Herbert, and Luis Martinez. Then you've got Wayne Graham in the GT2 car. That is also an RX-7. Followed by Blaine Bridges in the ITE Ford Mustang. Chris Kroll is in the T3 Porsche Boxster. Matteo Seidman is here. He is in an ITE. Oh, I don't have information on what car that one is. Let me see if I have it here. Where is Matteo Seidman? I don't have him on that list either. Anyway, he is in 17th place in the number 77 car. AP Miranda, that's a car that broke early after some contact. He is out of the race, and he did not even complete, I don't think he even completed one race lap. Maybe he got one in before the contact happened. So that is your mid-race recap brought to you by raceschool.com. If you want to go racing and you want to learn how to do it from some of the pros out there, check out raceschool.com. An absolute great school out here based at Buttonwillow and Willow Springs. Check them out, raceschool.com. 13 and a half minutes to go here in this race. And we're going to get back to our racing action. Of course, this is the Cal Club SCCA races brought to you and presented by Porterfield Brakes, Porterfield-Brakes.com. They sell a bunch of stuff for your race car besides brakes. They also have pit gear and a bunch of other tools and stuff like that. Fantastic stuff there. They also sell brakes for street cars as well. So, and if you're an SCCA member, you get a great discount. So you can go and check them out at Porterfield-Brakes.com. Just keep in mind, to get the discount, you have to call them because they have to get your membership number and all that kind of stuff. So definitely check them out. Good people there at Porterfield-Brakes.com. And I can't thank them enough. They have been, when we went to them 3 years ago and said, we want to start a live stream. Oh, big off there. Car went off there just coming into that left-hander, going a little agricultural racing here and then another car goes off. I wonder if there is some oil down in that area. 2 cars off at the exact same spot. kind of odd that they would go off there. That's not a typical spot at all. So I'm wondering if somebody's laid down a little bit of oil in that area. But both cars have been able to continue. Let's see if there's any other issues for other cars coming through. Yep, those cars seem to have made it through okay. Maybe one was a sympathy spin, not sure. But 2 cars go off there. They've been able to continue. Just want to make the point that I was going to make before all those cars started. You can actually see the dust there. That's the dust from the cars that were off coming in the turn between Riverside and Phil Hill, not from turn 1, from that sunset curve. But anyway, cannot thank the people at Porterfield Brakes enough. We went to them a year ago, or 3 years ago now. This is our second or third season. Anyway, when we first went to them and said we want to put together a live stream for Cal Club, and it was going to take some money to do it, they didn't even blink. They said yes without even a question. Their support for the SCCA, their support for Cal Club is just so strong. Cannot thank those folks enough. If you want to do us a solid here, frequent and get some stuff from Porterfield Brakes. Even if you don't use their brakes, they sell a bunch of other stuff. So check them out. Porterfield Brakes, Porterfield-Brakes.com. Coming up on 11 minutes to go here in our racing season at Buttonwillow Raceway Park. I'm Brian Belansky, wrapping it up. Tristan Parker was here throughout the weekend. He had to chase out of here a race early, but cannot thank him enough. He has been with me for most of our races over the last 2 years. He does a great job, and it has been a great addition out here. If you want to become part of the live stream team, there's opportunities to both be on the microphone and to help us on the technical support side. So feel free to get a hold of me. Let me get put the email address up here so you can find out where you can get a hold of me. RacingWireNetwork@gmail.com. Send me an email. Also, if you'd like to sponsor our live stream, lots of opportunities there as well. Every camera can get a sponsor. We could also, the RaceSchool.com, our camera sponsors as well, but we have multiple cameras here. More to come as well. So opportunities to sponsor a camera. That's one of our lesser expensive sponsorship deals. But anyway, lots of opportunities, and we'll come up with a custom plan for you. We can fit any budget. RacingWireNetwork@gmail.com. Help us out, folks. We just want to make it bigger and better here. Ben Valentine with a nice big lead, and also a huge lead between first and second place in SPEC Corvette. Gina Koptoff in first. John Simon in second. Alex Chang in third. Want to come out and play here at Cal Club at Buttonwillow? Check us out, calclub.com, if you want to be a volunteer. Lots of opportunities to do that as well. You can be a corner worker. You can be a grid member. You can, if you like the technical side of things, you can be a scrutineer, a technical inspector. If you like social media, want to take pictures, we got someone out here. You can help us out with that as well. Timing and scoring. Our stewards, emergency services, if you have a background in that. And even if you don't, they'll train you how to do everything you need to do. Check us out, calclub.com. If you're not from Southern California and you want to go find races in your area, go to SCCA.com. There is a region for every part of the United States, and there are opportunities all over the country to come and play with the SCCA. SCCA.com for all of your information there. Coming into the closing moments, the sunset of our season. Not like yesterday, we were actually fighting dark. It's only 3:20 in the afternoon right now, but we are having a good time here, getting it all wrapped up, finishing at our 74th season of racing for Cal Club. Next year, 75, and it's going to be a fun one as well. Let's see, where are we at with things? Johnny O'Connell has now made his way up to 6th place overall, 5th place in SPEC Corvette with 5.5 minutes to go. I don't think he's got a shot at getting up to catch Gina Koptoff, but I still think he's got a shot maybe to end up 3rd and on the podium here with 7.5 to go. I don't think he's got enough car or time left to catch John Simon. but we're still watching him. He started last because he didn't qualify the car. He's filling in for Ollie Thornton, who's not feeling well today. And so he handed over his car. He had a hard time finding a guy. No, he didn't. All he had to do was look to his left, look to his right, and there was Johnny O'Connell, one of the best Corvette drivers, probably to ever drive a Corvette. I was like, Johnny, you want to get in the car? I can almost guarantee you the answer was yes before he finished asking the question. So anyway, O'Connell now up to fifth place in SPEC Corvette. He's probably will be able to catch Alex Chang, and then maybe Greg Nestor to get on the podium. We'll have to watch this whole thing play out here. There is Jenna Koptoff coming across the line right now. And we've got John Simon and Greg Nestor, and there they are right there. So that second place spot is not at all settled, by the way. Greg Nestor still trying to see what he can do to get around John Simon to be in second place. Then a bit of a gap back to Alex Chang, and then 4 seconds back to Johnny O'Connell. O'Connell's time's right now in the 158 range, so a 157 range. Alex Chang in 156 his last lap, so we'll see what happens there. That's your second and third place battle in SPEC Corvette right there. We will keep an eye on that. That's probably our closest battle on the racetrack, so we will be following that battle now until we get to the checkered flag. Ben Valentine, our race leader, pretty easy go, but haven't spent much time talking about him. He has got a big gap now over the field here. I believe he's also our only GT2 car, so he's racing kind of against himself here. Here comes our second place battle here. Looks like a little bit of a gap now between those two cars. I'm not sure if Nestor was able to get around Simon, but there is a slight gap at this moment. We'll know more when they come across the line. Under 5 to go here now. Here's your first place car, Gina Koptoff, right behind that car. A little slower car. There's Greg Nestor, only 11 seconds back now. John Simon, 2 seconds back, so a little bit of a gap. So Greg Nestor's gotten around John Simon. He is now your second place car and pulling away. Johnny Connell just put his personal best lap of the day down a 156.7. Still a tenth of a second, though, slower than Alex Chang. So I think that may be where that's going to be about as high up the pecking order as O'Connell's going to get today. Of course, started last. He's going to make his way up to 5th in class. And there is Nestor, followed by Simon as they come through. Yep, Nestor's definitely pulling away a little bit. 3.5 minutes left in this race. Want to take time to thank everybody who helps make the broadcast possible. Of course, all of the board members here at Cal Club and our fearless leaders that help put these race weekends on. The boots on the ground here, CC Smith and Mark Smith. They are big supporters of ours. Can't thank them enough. Again, I mentioned Tristan Parker here earlier, my co-announcer, and he does a great job with us. Also want to thank my family, Leslie at home, Alex here at the racetrack, for letting me come out and play this game. I could not come out here without their understanding. A lot of time goes into this, folks, and I really appreciate them for letting us do that. So big thank you to them. Of course, we've been thanking our sponsors, Porterfield Brakes and RaceSchool.com all weekend. Coming up on 2.5 to go. We should be seeing, not too long down the road here, probably the next minute, less than a minute, we'll see the white flag come out as we put our final 2 laps of the season together out here. Ben Valentine's going to sweep the weekend here at Buttonwillow in that GT2 car. Unless something breaks, even if it does. No, he doesn't have a full lap on the field yet. Just waiting to see our starter throw that white flag out there. And here comes the white flag. It'll be in the air just a minute. Here's a big group of cars coming through. That second car, I believe, yep, that second car is Ben Valentine. White flag is in the air. 1 lap to go here at Buttonwillow Raceway Park. Our final lap of 2024. As the sun sets on another season here, another great season. But we're getting ready to dawn a new season with a brand new racetrack, the circuit, coming up next year. So good. There's that Dodge Challenger right there. There's your first place car of Ben Valentine. No questions, no issues for him all weekend long. Basically the best weekend you can have. Here we go, coming down the line here. This should be Ben Valentine right here, coming into our view right now for the final time through Phil Hill. There he is right now in the 24 Dodge Challenger. Final time for 2024 here at Buttonwillow. Now we wait about 30 seconds for the whole thing to wrap up here. I want to give a big thank you to the folks down in timing and scoring. They are our partners. They got to give us all the data so that we can talk about it, give us all of our starting lineups, and we've got a great timing and scoring. All of the volunteers at Cal Club are spectacular. The checkered flag is in the air. Here he comes down the line, coming out of the corner here. You'll see him. First place car right there is Ben Valentine. Crosses the line, back-to-back wins here. And that is how it's going to play out here. We'll wait just a couple of seconds and give you, oh, of course, 1 car goes off there at the exit of Sunset. We found out yesterday why that's called Sunset, because the sun set on our racing yesterday, went deep into the day, and of course the days are short, so. All right, let's get ready to give us our, excuse me, our final full field rundown of the year here at Buttonwillow. That full field rundown, of course, is now brought to you by raceschool.com. Let's get to it here. Of course, these are unofficial results, but I don't anticipate any changes. You never know, but this is how they're running through here. Ben Valentine is your race winner here in GT2. Your SPEC Corvette race winner is Jenna Koptoff, followed by Greg Nestor, John Simon. That's your podium in SPEC Corvette. Did I say SPEC Racer Ford? I meant SPEC Corvette. Gina Koptoff, SPEC Corvette winner, followed by Greg Nestor and John Simon. Then you've got Alex Chang in 5th, Johnny O'Connell in 6th, and Donnie York in 7th. Chris Qualls comes in 8th, your first place car in GT3. Then a couple of more SPEC Corvettes, Patrick Howe, Jeff Herbert, Luis Martinez, and Jay Cochran. ITE's race winner, Blaine Bridges. Then you've got your next car in SPEC Corvette, second place in ITE, Mateo Seidman. And then your T3 race winner is Chris Kroll. That's how they end up here for our final race of the year here. And again, thanking all of the people who helped make us, allow us to do this. Oops, wrong button. There we go. Anyway, that is how it's going to end here. I am Brian Belansky for Tristan Parker, for everybody here at Cal Club. Thank you for a fantastic race season. I look forward to being back with you here in 2025. So long, everybody. and goodbye from Buttonwillow. You guys stay safe and go play with cars.